Hello, and welcome to the Dad Lab podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matt.
I'm Andrew.
And on today's show, we've got items from the news desk. We're going to talk about Madden NFL 21 and how bad it sucks. We're going to also talk about a guy that's on a righteous crusade for boneless buffalo wings and a rocketeer sighting at an airport. We're going to introduce a new segment, a Mount Rushmore segment, where we give a new topic every week, and we're going to give our Mount Rushmore for that topic. So this week's topic is breakfast cereals. Then we're going to continue our Mighty Ducks watch and review with D2, the follow-up to the classic Mighty Ducks. We're going to get into 60 seconds on Big Brother, and then sports talk, including the Lionel Messi saga, Leonard Fournette to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Jags tanking, NBA matchups, and then we're going to finish up with what are you watching and what are you listening to. And if you could do us a favor, please rate and review us on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review and a rating, and that would help us out a lot. So what's going on, man?
Same as usual, just working in the rain this week. Got home today and had these delicious $30 center cut prime meat steaks that my wife just loved to complain about until she had her first bite.
Yeah.
And then we decided this needs to be like a quarterly thing because, I mean, we're not balling out of control. We can't get $30 steaks once a week. But, goddamn, they were delicious. Every once in a while, you just got to treat yourself. I mean, you could have cut it with a spoon.
And prime's the way to go. You got to get the stuff in the case. Yeah. And it's worth the money. It's worth every penny.
$28.99 for a pound, and then we paired it with some nice instant mashed potatoes. So it was a $30 meal with a $29 steak, and there was three of them, each about the size of your fist. But it was honestly one of the best steaks I've ever had, at least at the house.
How'd you do them? How'd you cook them?
She cooks them inside on an iron skillet. She'll heat up the pan and then throw some salt on there, which is what we just started doing. But it gets the tips nice, the outside
little sear
of it.
Crust on it.
God, that crust is so good. That's my favorite part. And I've always liked burnt food. I guess because my mom burnt the food growing up.
Oh
so
no!
Burnt cookies, burnt bacon, burnt steaks. Not like charred. That's disgusting. But there's burnt tips on it. I'm all about that.
I cook them inside on a cast iron, and then I'll get it screaming hot, and then I'll do maybe depending on how thick it is, 1 or 2 seconds per side.
Yep.
Or 1 or 2 minutes per side. Throw some
2 seconds. That's fucking Dracula steak.
A good vet could revive it. No, 1 or 2 minutes per side. Throw some butter with. If I got rosemary, throw some rosemary and some garlic, and then toss it in the oven and let the oven finish it off. And man, if you too lazy to fire up the grill or you don't have a grill, that's one way to just make an excellent
inside steaks are good. First time we did that when we lived at the loft downtown by Pops.
Yeah,
and first time we did that, and we didn't realize that by getting the pan so hot and by throwing it on, it's a smoke show.
Oh, yeah.
We set off every fire alarm in that building, and we couldn't reset it because we didn't know the code. We had to call the landlord. She had to come out. I mean, there's 12 units in that building. All 12 of them were just staring at us with dagger eyes down the hallways because we knew that was us, but goddamn, did we not enjoy that steak that night?
It was worth it.
After waking up everybody or disturbing everyone's night. We said, fuck it, man. As soon as we got that fire alarm off, we devoured that steak.
It was worth getting the death stares from the neighbors.
Worth it. And had a family lunch this weekend. My brother-in-law, it's my sister-in-law and her husband,
yes.
Right? Because it's my wife's sister. And he was cooking some tacos, and the whole time they're just stressing, this is a laid-back environment, just come and relax. And, they just kept stressing to just dress comfy and be yourself. And finally I had to tell him, Dakota, as a dad, I dress to impress no one. You do not have to tell me if we're having a Sunday lunch to just come and wear what I want. I'll wear my slides, I'll wear my sweatpants, and I'll wear my hat.
I'm doing that anyway.
Yeah, I'm literally not changing for you, so you don't have to tell me to change for you because this is who I am on a Sunday at least. And you're lucky there's not a game on because if it was this coming Sunday, I'd have to politely decline. But we went, and the food was fucking delicious. It wasn't delish. It was delicious. No need to abbreviate useless words. I just had to get that in there. My wife is starting to do that, and I always correct her. I hate when people...
Is that bothering you a bit?
It is bothering me because you're not even having to write out the word. You just have to enunciate the last syllable of the word, and it's really not that much work. It's one of my pet peeves. So if I kind of scold you later on for some stupid abbreviation, you've been warned.
Okay, well, I don't think I do that. But
you don't, because I would have said something already.
I don't think I do that. Well, I didn't eat delicious steaks. I went to the fine dining establishment known as Olive Garden, or as I like to call it, the Denny's of Italian food, because it is absolutely terrible. But my son, for whatever reason, is obsessed with Olive Garden at the moment, which bugs the shit out of me because all he does is get chicken fingers and French fries.
You can go to Wendy's for that.
Well, yeah.
And there's a side of Chick-fil-A or
and
something.
there's a side of we'll eat Chick-fil-A. I don't stock in Chick-fil-A. And it does come with a side of spaghetti and sauce, but they have those stupid tablets that are on the table, and he likes playing the games.
So does, like, I think Buffalo Wild Wings, man. Go there.
And Chili's does too. And he was on a Chili's kick for a while.
His taste buds,
No,
at least.
and I've downloaded every game he plays on the phone. I'm like, Landry, we don't have to go here. But he's like, no, we're going to Olive Garden. And I get my ass whipped by a 5-year-old. It's really every time.
Yep.
Every time. That. But yeah, so we went to Olive Garden today, and it was lackluster.
It's like every other experience, though. I've never had an Olive Garden experience where I just walked out and just licked my lips, and thank God there's an Olive Garden near me.
No, and I ended up getting just appetizers. Like I got calamari and shrimp scampi, fried shrimp scampi, and I just didn't feel like ordering a big, shitty $20 meal.
No, I think what I always get, the only thing I can like there is a chicken parm.
It's hard to screw that up.
Yeah, that's probably why I always get that.
But
and I've only been there a handful of times. They had some really good soup one time we went. I shouldn't have even brought this up because I have no idea what it's called. It's like a white sauce. I think there might have been chicken in there.
Is it the chicken and gnocchi soup? It's got the little dumplings.
Yeah,
yes,
that is something really good.
Gnocchi,
every time we go, they were like, "All right, let's at least get that, and we'll split something."
I usually get the zuppa toscana. It's got the potatoes and the sausage, and I think it's like kale in there.
Yeah,
it's a pretty killer soup.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go for some soups, but
I just got appetizers. Now that's the way to go, because about a decade ago I went to Italy, and I went to Rome, Milan, Florence, Naples, and I had Italian food. And obviously, what we get here is not Italian food, but once you've had that,
bar is really high.
I mean, it is the Denny's of Italian food. It is terrible. Shout out to Olive Garden if you're listening. I hope I didn't screw up any
we're taking sponsorships for sure. I love that chicken parm.
We can mark that off. All right. So let's go on to the news desk. First story is the hashtag NFL Drop EA was trending this week. I think at some point it was number one in the nation, number one in the whole world across Twitter. But Madden has been on a decline for several years.
Yeah.
Madden 08 and Madden 12 were widely regarded as the best Madden games of all time. And if you go to our Twitter, which is twitter.com/thedadlabpod, I've retweeted some of the glitches that players have reported this week. Like, there's one, they call it the Mike Tomlin glitch. Like, this guy, it shows this guy, he catches a pass down the sideline, he's gone. And this player that's not in the game, comes from the sideline and just destroys the guy. There's another one where the guy throws into double coverage, the defensive backs break it up, and the ball rests on the defender's head, and he's running downfield with it on his head, and he gets into the end zone, and then it falls on the ground. But this is what happens when you have a monopoly on something.
Yeah.
EA has a monopoly on
soccer.
Well, no. They've got Pro Evolution Soccer, which is made by Konami, which is a competitor, and it's a legit competitor. But they have a monopoly on hockey and football.
Whatever happened to 2K? 2K made good NFL games. They still make basketball.
But the NFL has an exclusive license. They have an exclusive license with EA, and that's why for years, since they don't have a competitor, they can just rest.
It's like you said, it's a roster update every year.
It's a $60 roster update.
So how can you fuck it up that bad when you have a formula that worked, 12 to 8 years ago, like you said? How can they digress so much that they just literally don't give a shit?
They don't. Somebody posted on Twitter, a user posted he screenshotted his review, and it was a 2.0. And the head director of gameplay, replied to the guy and said 2 is better than 1.
Oh my God.
This guy works for EA. He's the head director of gameplay, and he replied, 2 is better than 1. That's what's going on at EA. Now they're moving everything away from franchise mode, which is
really
my
upsets
mode.
me. Yeah, that's what growing up. That's what I'd always do. I'd obviously always be the Cowboys. Sometimes you can do a fantasy draft, and if the Cowboys had like a shitty roster or whatever your team was had a bad roster, and you wanted to build up, maybe pick Mahomes number 1 or whatever. But if your team had a good roster, cut whoever you didn't. Oh, don't cut. Trade them. Obviously trade. See what you can get on the trade market for those guys, but build your own team up. At the end of the year, you get to hoist that trophy.
But they're going away from franchise mode, and they have for years, and they're going to the Ultimate Team mode, which is filled with microtransactions. That's where they make extra money. All these kids, all these people are buying all these packs, trying to build their teams, trying to get certain players, trying to get certain cards. And FIFA started that trend. They started the Ultimate Team trend, and they're getting away from manager mode, which is their franchise mode, which is because when we were coming up, there was no Ultimate Team. There was no you could play single games, you could play tournaments, or you could play seasons or franchise modes. So that's what I do. And they've misspelled player names,
which blows my mind.
They misspelled Derrick Henry. It was Derek, and he has 2 R's, and I think it's ICK.
Yeah, it's an I.
And they had
he was the rushing title champion last year. You'd think that I would understand if they got the 53rd man wrong on Jacksonville's roster, but the guy who rushed for almost 1,800 yards or 1,800 all-purpose yards, and
they had the Vikings logo listed under the Titans team. So when you went to go select the Tennessee Titans, the Minnesota Vikings logo was there. They were using players from 5 years ago in like when they have the loading menus, like when you're waiting to go into game, they'll have like the loading menus with like a picture and like a tip for the game. They had Peanut Tillman breaking up a pass
out of the league for years,
breaking up a pass from a Green Bay receiver that hasn't been in the league in 5 years. So it's stuff like that. It received the lowest review score in Madden history. The critic rating on Metacritic was 60 out of 100, when for years past it never got below an 80. The user rating was a 0.4 out of 100.
Golly. Hey, it's better than a 0.3.
That's what they would say if you're EA.
Yes, that guy. Wow.
But and the sad thing is it at some point the NFL has to pay attention and realize that this is making their product look bad. And the only way that we're going to get change is if they pull their license, because they just renewed last year their license through 2026.
And the only way to force action is to fuck with their money. So
well, I mean, people are still buying it.
I know, because people are idiots.
It's a $60 roster update.
Yep, and I thought about getting it because I loved our draft class we just had, but like you said, it's just not worth it. Like I'm on Madden 17. I've been playing that since obviously like 17 when it came out, and I think I'm on like my 4th year because I'll play like when the season starts, I get really into it,
Yeah.
And I'll play it pretty hard. But so I'm in the league there, and it's like I've drafted like awesome receivers. That's basically like my new CD Lamb, and I have like a nice corner that's like my
Diggs.
Yeah, my Trayvon Diggs. So it's like I got my own guys that I've created, and I'm not going to spend $60.
And it's not just the gameplay decisions and the misspelling of players' names and the logos. They were I forget. I should have got the guy's name. There was an influencer who was big in the Madden scene. He was on the competitive side. He was playing tournaments and stuff like that. But he was known on several occasions on Twitter to drop the N-word with a hard R, and they were going to put him in the game as a playable, like a selectable coach for your franchise mode until they got so much heat. They decided against it and they pulled it. But it was only until the community caught on and they got all that heat. But they weren't going to do it. And if nobody caught on, they were going to let that guy.
And he was going to profit off all that,
He was going to profit off of it. And, it's sad. It's a sad state that a staple game that I grew up with.
Oh, man, I loved growing up with that.
This far. And I'm playing a game from 7 years ago. I'm like 8 or almost 10 years in.
You made a big commitment there, man.
I'm like 12 or 13 years into a dynasty on NCAA 14 on the PS3. That's what I was doing before I came over. That's
Yeah.
why I was late.
And you started off right. You're very humbled with your beginnings. OC at North Texas and just worked your way up.
I spent 3 years as an OC at North
3
Texas.
humbling years in Denton.
3 years in Lubbock at Texas Tech, and then I spent a year at San Jose State, and then the Kentucky job opened, and I wanted to rebuild an SEC team, and I've been to back-to-back national championships.
Congratulations,
I won one,
bro.
lost one. I lost to Michigan last night.
Who did you beat, though, the first time?
Miami of Ohio.
It was Ohio.
Because that's cool about NCAA is
Ben Roethlisberger's son playing for him?
There's always one wonky, like, non-Power 5 team that'll get up in the rankings.
And your year at San Jose State, didn't you make the championship? So you were the wonky team that year.
Yeah,
and really Kentucky would be too.
But what's crazy is this was a previous generation's technology, and it is so deep. Like
it's great.
The dynasty mode is so deep. Like I spend, and I shouldn't have pulled back this curtain because I look like a huge nerd. But
I'll give you about 5 minutes on this.
I spend too much time recruiting. Like
That's
I will
the best
recruit
part,
and
though,
scout and create pipelines and
making promises. You better
making
keep them
promises,
because if you break that promise, man,
because at the end of the year,
remember.
At the end of the year, it'll have your kids that are leaving, and if your underclassmen are leaving, you can make promises to persuade them to stay. Now, some kids are ranked 99, and it'll say NFL draft projection round 1, and they're very hard to
they're making those
convince.
virtual millions.
Yeah. So, but it's sad that it's 2020, and I have to play a PS3 game from 7 years ago to get a good simulation football experience. But that's kind of where we are. It's just terrible. If y'all are interested, just get on YouTube, get on Twitter, and search Madden NFL 21 reviews, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I think that brings us to our boneless chicken wing guy.
To our controversial hero.
It's the hero that we all need at a time like this.
I mean, in a time when our nation is so divided, one brave man has the balls to stand for what he believes in, and he draws a line in the sand. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Christensen.
I promise I won't take up too much of your time here. My name is Andrew Christensen. I live at 1212 Twin Ridge Road. Lincoln has the opportunity to be a social leader in this country. We have been casually ignoring a problem that has gotten so out of control that our children are throwing around names and words without even understanding their true meaning and treating things as though they're normal. I go into nice family restaurants and I see people throwing this name around and pretending as though everything is just fine. I'm talking about boneless chicken wings. I propose that we as a city remove the... Excuse me, I'm trying to... Yeah. Excuse me. Sure. Come on. I propose that we as a city remove the name boneless wings from our menus and from our hearts. These are our reasons why. Number one, nothing about boneless chicken wings actually come from the wing of a chicken. We would be disgusted if a butcher was mislabeling their cuts of meats, but then we go around and pretending as though the breast of the chicken is its wing. Number two, boneless chicken wings are just chicken tenders, which are already boneless. I don't go to order boneless tacos. I don't go and order boneless club sandwiches. I don't ask for boneless auto repair. It's just what's expected. And then number three, we need to raise our children better. Our children are raised being afraid of having bones attached to their meat. That's where meat comes from. It grows on bones. We need to teach them that the wing of a chicken is from a chicken, and it's delicious. I propose that we rename boneless wings in the city of Lincoln. We can call them buffalo-style chicken tenders. We can call them wet tenders. We can call them saucy nugs or trash. We can take these steps and show the country that where we stand, and that we understand that we've been living a lie for far too long. And we know it because we feel it in our bones.
Thank you, Andrew.
What a fucking legend.
I mean, come on.
Guy's got a point.
In a time where we're stuck with two shitbag candidates for president, it just kind of set the stage for people because that was an audio clip, and I did post this on our Twitter as well, and I think on our Instagram. So if you want to see the video, you can see it there. But go ahead and set the stage for people.
This is a Lincoln, Nebraska city hall meeting. Very official. I mean, the guy got dressed up in slacks. He had a cheeseburger tie on. He's got a long red hair, rocking a little mustache. The guy came dressed to impress and on a mission. And you could hear the one guy laughing at first, and he abruptly cuts him off. He is very serious.
He's like, "Hey,
about this.
I'm trying to make a point."
Yeah, and then one of the city council members is like, "Yeah, give him a minute." He backs him up, and then there's this lady in the background because it's just a fixed shot, like a set camera on this guy, and there's like 2 people in camera view, and this one lady, she's wearing a mask, but all you can see is like her just putting her head down and giggling. She's like
trying
shoulder
to stifle
shrugging.
laughing.
Yeah, she's trying so hard not to laugh, but my guy's he's just tired of the fake facade chicken nuggets because they're spicy nugs. They're wet tenders, like he said. Meat grows on a bone, and I mean, I gotta say, I agree with him.
I've always said this. Like, boneless wings are just chicken nuggets.
They are. They're big chicken nuggets.
And they shouldn't be called wings. I
shouldn't.
totally agree with this guy.
agree.
And finally, somebody had the balls to stand up and say it.
Finally, someone. And, I like boneless wings, but you're right. They're not, because it's an oxymoron. They're not, boneless. Like he said, like, I don't order boneless tacos. I mean, it's pointless.
Boneless
It's
auto
asinine to
care.
ask for, yeah, just ask for spicy tossed wing or buffalo tossed chicken tenders.
bites.
Chicken bites. Yeah, that's what they are. Meat grows on a bone. My man's got a point, and he's out here speaking facts, and I'm just ready for 2024. Let's go, Christensen.
I can't tell you how excited I was when I came across this. And what was funny was the amount of backlash that this got.
Which is ridiculous because it's obviously a fucking joke.
The guy's in a cheeseburger tie. He's got bright red, long shoulder-length hair parted down the middle. And his dad was on the city council.
Yeah, I think his dad's the one that hushed that guy to give him a minute.
I think he just wanted to embarrass his dad and get a laugh.
And he got a laugh. And I don't know why people are like railing against this. I think the guy's a legend for getting up there and maintaining his character so well. Like, because we were cracking up just listening to it for the 4th time today, and this guy had to practice in front of a mirror because he is stone-faced.
And I don't want to blow anybody out, but somebody in my family made it. And I stay off of Facebook. I have a Facebook for my family to keep up with my family and my kid. But one of my family members commented on this video and said, "I can't believe this is what it's come to. We have big problems in this nation. Look at these people. It's people like this that are ruining the country." And I'm like, and I commented. I took the time to comment. I said, you can't tell this is a joke. The guy's in a fucking cheeseburger tie talking about chicken nuggets, boneless wings. Like, come on. Like, it was so drenched in satire. And I'm just like,
yeah, honestly, if you don't get the joke, then the joke's on you.
yeah.
Because
like
I heard that and I was cracking up. I heard it in my car. I listened to a G-Bag, and that was one of the G-Bags of the day, and it somehow didn't win. They had like some Tolo do a rap song. So he won because it just gave everyone like praise on the show, so they obviously love that. But I was just cracking up when I heard this guy. Like, this guy should obviously win. But God bless a man that'll just speak from the heart and just draw a line in the sand.
He'd get my vote.
Yeah.
He'd get my vote.
He'll start humble. He'll take his dad's spot at the city council of Lincoln and work his way up.
God help us. So the last item in the news desk today was a guy at LAX, LA International Airport, that was seen flying 3,000 feet in the air with a jetpack. I'm reading this story from wearethemighty.com, and it says pilots flying into Los Angeles International Airport on Sunday evening reported seeing a man in a jetpack flying at an altitude of around 3,000 feet and about 10 miles from the airport. The first pilot to see the mysterious aviator said he was only about 300 yards from the plane. You can hear the exchange of the actual transmission. And the pilot says, "Tower American 1997. We just passed a guy in a jetpack."
And how high was he again?
He was 3,000 feet.
Golly, that's
up in the air, and he was only 300 yards away from a plane. You got to think 300 yards when
in that space is pretty close.
I mean, I don't know how jet engines work, but is that close enough to like suck you in? Like, I don't know. And a second pilot also reported seeing a man flying with something strapped to his back in the same area. And the air traffic controller acknowledged the message and said, "Only in LA." And then they sent a warning to other pilots that are approaching LAX to, approach with caution. And some people said the pilots were tired and they were seeing things, but aviation experts doubt that because they said pilots are highly trained to have a great sense of vision and perception. Oh, yeah. And for two pilots on two separate flights to notice the same thing, it gives credibility.
Yeah. First thing I thought of was, is Stark Industries in L.A. or is that in New York?
That's in L.A.
Well, there you go. Figured it out. Next topic.
I can't. That reminds me of the Rocketeer. Did you ever see that movie as a kid?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Dude, it's a great movie.
It's on Disney Plus too.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's gonna have to be a movie and review coming up.
Yeah, it is.
We brought that up.
But think about the engineering that goes on, because you normally, you've seen those ones that go in the water.
Yeah, those are cool, but those are used by like water.
Water, yeah, because they've got a big tube,
you.
Connected to something in the water to
No, this
pump
is
the
like
water
some
This
Tony
is
Stark shit.
Like, as we're falling behind around the world in engineering and mathematics and all that, where is this guy? Can somebody give this guy a job?
Yeah,
because to get yourself 3,000 feet in the air and then back down safely, that is a feat.
And I imagine when he's going 3,000 feet, he's like parallel with, he's not shooting up, he's rocketing out. So he's like planking in that form and just boosting through the air.
It's like those wingsuits, but instead of falling, he's actually maintaining.
And he's got like flames coming out the back. I mean,
what
how
a
fucking
badass.
cool is that? And random that you brought that, I just remember too, I was listening to NPR and they were talking about UFOs, and this is what it reminded me of. They're trying to get away from calling it a UFO.
Yeah.
It's called a UAP now, which is an unidentified aerial phenomenon. So I think they just experienced a UAP in LA.
It'll forever be UFO.
It will. That's what they're saying. They're like, they'll never, because that's such a popular term, but they're really trying to, because they think when you think at UFO, you think, alien life forms. And it could be anything. That's why it's an unidentified flying object. It could be a fucking brick going through the air, and you're like, oh, what is that? It's flying, and I don't know what it is. That's a UFO.
Yeah.
It's just something coasting through the air. I guess if it's being propelled, that's more of a flying object rather than a tossed object. Brick wasn't a good example. I immediately regret that example.
I'll edit it out. Don't worry. Actually, I won't. All right, so let's move on to our Mount Rushmore. And like I said in the opening, this is going to be a segment, and we may not do it every week. It may be a here or there thing, but as you know, Mount Rushmore, it's got 4 presidents.
Name them.
I can't. I'm a bad American.
It's Washington, Jefferson,
Lincoln,
and Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, I'm a bad
I got
American.
the wrong Roosevelt up there, if you ask me.
I was a history major at the beginning. I'm glad. Obviously, I made the right choice to get out of that.
Yeah.
So every Mount Rushmore segment is going to have a different topic. Our first one is going to be breakfast cereal, because that's a topic that can be wide ranging, highly debatable, a lot of different opinions.
Yep.
So how do you want to do this? You want to go your 4 and then my 4? Do you want to alternate?
We can do one's 4 and then another 4. And before we start this too, if any of the 3 listeners have any suggestions, just send that in to whatever Matt suggested earlier, just for ideas of the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, you can email us at thedadlabpod@gmail.com, or drop it on our Twitter. Just search thedadlabpod, or our Instagram. Do the same thing. It's across all platforms. But yeah, if you have any ideas, feel free to email or message us, and we'll fit it into the show.
All right, you want me to go first?
You go first.
And mine's gonna be in no order. I don't know if you're.
I don't have an order.
And I just lucked out because I looked up because I wanted to kind of visualize all of them. So it had a list. It had their ranking, which I obviously ranked my own, but it had sales and units sold. If you're interested in that, I can throw that in. So Cinnamon Toast Crunch, fucking delicious. 344 million in sales.
How many units is that?
That's 105.2 million boxes sold. And that's one of those cereals, excellent dry or with milk.
Yes.
The cinnamon's not too overbearing. It's a good cereal to get soggy. Certain cereals are good soggy. Certain you can only eat crunchy. I get it, but I've always kind of been a soggy guy. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, excellent when it's soggy.
Didn't you kind of reveal that you have a gutter palate earlier? I mean, you like burnt food.
Oh, fuck. I guess I did. I guess I set myself up for that one. All right. So like I said, I eat a lot of weird stuff. I like burnt food and I like soggy food. Coming from the guy who went to Olive Garden earlier.
Yeah. All right. Let's just not talk about our palates.
Yeah. Let's continue on with our classy cereal talk. So number 2, Frosted Flakes. That's a classic.
Okay, that's a classic.
Everyone grew up eating Frosted Flakes. We have 412 million in sales. That's 132 million boxes. That's pretty great.
Oh my God.
All right, moving on. Reese's Puffs, great cereal dry. You can eat that. I'm more of a dry cereal eater on that than with milk, but that is an excellent snack.
I'm a peanut butter guy, but that is an abomination of a cereal.
Well, good thing it's my list.
Yeah, fair enough. But
Well, this will tell you. This will back it up because, like we said, Frosted Flakes, 412 million in sales, 121 million in sales. So about a $300 million difference.
Yeah.
So I think you might, again, gutter palate. This is my four. And then now I'm embarrassed to give up my fourth one.
Do it.
Because I even put on there how their best one, soggy, is Fruity Pebbles, which could also be replaced with Cocoa Pebbles.
Okay, no, that's solid.
That's 172 million in sales. Only 54 million boxes. That's still a shitload of boxes sold.
If I'm going to fruity cereal though, I might go Fruit Loops.
Yeah, but I like getting a fat spoon of Fruity Pebbles, and there's literally like 100 little pebbles in there.
True,
and I feel like a giant eating them.
And it is better soggy.
It
You are
is,
correct.
Yeah,
you are correct.
and then on the list, just to show you the top two. Top two. This was based on sales, obviously. Number 2 was Honey Nut Cheerios. They sold $421 million worth. That's over 129 million boxes. And then plain old Cheerios was actually number 1, 435 million with 131 units. So Cheerios alone is over $800 million in sales a year.
$1 billion industry just on some Cheerios.
Just on Cheerios, yeah, it's damn near $1 billion.
And and they always promote that it's kind of heart healthy.
Yeah,
and it helps with cholesterol. So I think that helps,
which is smart. Yeah,
it's very smart. And
you show Grandpa pouring a big bowl with his grandkids, and it's just so humble,
touches
so
the
American.
heart. Touches the heart. Okay, all right, good list. All right, so
I feel like you're being facetious.
No, you had some solid picks.
All right.
And we share 2 of them. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way.
Sweet.
So on my Mount Rushmore was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's an OG from childhood. It's a gangster. It's an all around good cereal. You can eat it dry. You can pop it in a bowl and hand it to the kid and as a quick snack. It's versatile in that way. And then Frosted Flakes. Me and Tony the Tiger, we were homies growing up. I love Frosted Flakes. That to me is either dry. I can eat it more crunchy or soggy. Either way, it's good.
Yep.
So where we different, and this is my number 1 personal favorite cereal, Honeycomb. Honeycomb is good. I like doing a little less milk than I normally would because I like getting the crunchy pieces mixed in with some on the bottom that are a little bit soggier. But it's a solid cereal, man.
That's
so
the one
good.
for me growing up. I had
Honeycomb.
honeycombs and Pops. Seems like I ate that a lot growing up.
I love
and they're like
Pops.
both yellow boxes. I guess that's why I relate the two. But those are definitely 2 I hadn't had in a while. But growing up,
Pops didn't make my list, but Pops was definitely because I'm 34 and I still eat cereal for dinner.
Oh, we grew up with cereal Sunday at my house.
You were telling me about that.
Yeah, because my mom would be dead tired at the end of the week. She's like, "Y'all are eating cereal tonight," and sweet. Well, we'd always have like 4 boxes in the house. We'd have a sweet variety. So cereal Sunday, man.
Dude, I'm down. And then my last cereal from my Mount Rushmore, and it's probably a little lesser known, and so I'm gonna have to describe it, but it's called Sugar Crisp. It's the gold box.
Is that the bear?
With the bear.
That's real old school. I haven't.
You can get it at Walmart, and you can get it at Foodland here in town.
That is literally just sugar.
It's straight sugar.
Yeah.
It's Sugar Crisp.
I think that's one my mom stopped buying because it was so sugary.
So bad for
you.
But that is one of my, obviously it's on my Mount Rushmore. It's one of my favorite cereals of all time.
There you go.
I just love it. I do have some honorable mentions. 1, Captain Crunch. That is a must. Soggy. Regular Captain Crunch or Crunch Berries. Either one.
No peanut butter though.
No, and see, I'm a peanut butter guy, but when you try to make peanut butter certain things like peanut butter cereal, for instance, for me it never translates. Like it just doesn't work for whatever reason. But Captain Crunch or Crunch Berries, for me it's a must soggy because it will mess up the roof of your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, you will pay for eating a bowl of Captain Crunch for like 3 days. It will destroy the roof of your mouth. 2, Honey Nut Cheerios, which you mentioned. It's a solid option. Now, as an adult, I can't eat as much honeycomb or Frosted Flakes as I like. So Honey Nut Cheerios, I can eat it and not feel the guilt. Apple Jacks is my third.
Apple Jacks is on my honorable
Apple
mention.
Jacks is delicious.
Yep.
And a
Underrated, man.
underrated, ballsy for going out and making an apple cereal.
And what does their spokesman little guy look like?
I have no clue.
He looks like a wild Rastafarian. Like, I don't know how.
Somebody on acid
Yeah.
made it. I have no clue. And then fourth is Frosted Mini Wheats, which is excellent soggy cereal.
That
Excellent
is, man.
soggy cereal. And again, I can eat it without guilt.
Yeah, that's definitely one you eat guilt-free.
You know, it's frosted. It's got some sugar, but it's not Sugar Crisp. It's not Cookie Crisp, which is one that didn't make either of our lists. But Cookie Crisp,
There's like a wild coyote like on that box.
yeah,
right?
I know that was a popular one, for a long time. But Frosted Mini Wheats is one I love. Overfilling the cereal with milk and letting it get real soggy, and then it's solid, and it fills you up. It's got a ton of fiber, so it fills you up.
Yeah,
it gets you to lunch pretty good. I'll eat a bowl of honeycomb and I'm hungry 10 minutes later. So
pretty much I had all those on my honorable mention. Last one I had Raisin Bran Crunch. And I know I might be an outsider on that, but less raisins, but more crunch.
Lauren likes the Raisin Bran Crunch. She loves Raisin Bran and the Bran Crunch.
2 scoops, man. 2 scoops in every box.
Is all you need.
One thing before we move on, do you ever spice it up? You ever add like a banana in
Absolutely.
I grew up with my grandma always cutting up a banana. We would have cornflakes, not frosted flakes.
Yeah.
Cornflakes with the rooster on there.
Yeah.
And she would add her own sugar and just cut up a banana for me. And that was so good.
My dad did that. First time I did that, I had a Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flakes with the banana it's nostalgic. It takes me back, and it's just good.
Like a peanut butter and banana sandwich too. I had those a lot growing up.
Yeah, and I do it with Honey Nut Cheerios as well.
Yeah, you obviously can't do it with every cereal.
Right, there's certain ones.
But there's certain ones like Frosted Flakes, Cheerios.
Like I tried it with honeycomb.
Cut up a banana, dude. Cut one up then.
Tried it with honeycomb. It didn't work. Did not work. I ended up just picking them out, and just
giving
eating
them
them after the fact. But no, it was bananas and cereal is a thumbs up.
Definitely.
And that brings us to our movie discussion, our continuance of the Mighty Ducks series. And this week, we talked about doing D2 and D3 at the same time, but we couldn't get to D3 this week, so we're just going to do D2. Andrew has a little bit fresher view on it because he just watched it. I watched it last week.
Well, I just finished it. I watched it in 3 parts. I started it the last week before you came over. I got to like the montage we're all getting together. Had to stop it. Started it 2 days ago before Claire got home, and then I had to stop it when Bombay was going up against Wolf the Dentist Stanson in their like little head-on-head matchup, and so stopped it then, and then I picked it up for the 3rd time today and finished it. So the ending's fresh. The other one I had to take lots of notes on.
It's okay. We got time. Notes are good. That way, that's less and that we do.
Like seriously, we're trying to get better on that by just
I'm
making
guilty of.
copious notes.
All right,
That's a nice word, copious.
Copious.
Actually, I think I used it right too.
Yeah, you did. That's a $1 word.
More than I got.
So, you want to start it off?
I mean, just like a quick overview. Cause
let's just do a quick overview.
I really feel like they made this movie because the first one's a success, and they're like, let's just fucking do it again.
Well,
let's put little to no effort into it, and let's just make new rivals because it's the same thing. They're
same formula
ragtag now. Yeah, they just got a few extra pieces, which I'm glad they replaced. Who they replaced? Like the little Chihuahua, the kid from Heavyweights, Juicy Smollett. And they added Keenan Allen. I feel like Keenan
Allen Thompson.
Keenan Allen, wide receiver for the Chargers. Keenan Thompson replacing Smollett was a great pick, dude. He's been in the movie industry for like 25 years now, and he's still
good now.
Still good, yeah. He's a funny guy. I bet he's cool as shit on Saturday Night Live. Like I really like Keenan Thompson, so I thought that was a good replacement. And
a big part of it is they tied this into the introduction of the Anaheim Ducks franchise into the NHL.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, we're skipping ahead, but at the end, they're in the jerseys for the 3rd period.
They're playing at their arena.
At their arena. So that was a big part of why the movie was made.
Yeah, and they were the Mighty Ducks for like 10 or 15 years.
Which I don't know why they dropped. It was so cool.
They're probably just tired of being with Disney, being attached to that.
Sure.
But growing up, that was cool to me.
That was cool to me.
Until they played the fucking Stars.
So, yeah, the movie starts out with all the ducks getting rounded up by
Charlie.
With
the duck call.
Yep.
Just riding up on somebody. Then they look around. Hey, Charlie.
And
skating through the Mall of America again.
And it's implausible, and it wouldn't happen. But you've got eight or 10 ducks, and then you've got a few sprinkled in from around the country. So you're telling me these are the 8 or 10 best kids, and they just happen to play on the same crap youth hockey team in Minnesota, and then we're pulling everybody else from wherever.
And it's a really ragtag team aside from the Ducks. You had the cowboy from Austin, the speedster from Miami, the figure skater from San Francisco, and the goalie from Maine.
That's one of the things I pointed out. It's very very stereotypical. You couldn't make this movie in 2020 because the kid from the figure skater, why did he have to be Asian?
From San Francisco.
Could you pick a more stereotypical redneck dude from Texas?
Yeah, there were so many yeehaws in that movie.
From Austin. I promise you, there's nobody in Austin saying yeehaw.
No. It should have been like Abilene or, like College Station.
Or Fort Worth.
Or Fort Worth, there you go.
That's a big cowboy town.
Yeah.
Fort
Worth, and then the Hispanic was from Miami.
Yeah, of course. But you couldn't make that in 2020. You couldn't. And going back to the original, there was a lot of iffy things, they did back in the early 90s. They couldn't get away with now. But so they round up the team, and of course, they come together, and
they get a sponsor.
That's right.
That's what's going out there.
They get a sponsor, and Charlie's like, "Well, Gordon, we're not Hendrix. We're not USA. We're Duck. Well, the Ducks aren't in the competition. You're in a international competition. So sorry, Charlie." You don't live in the United States of Ducks. You live in the United States of America. You have to play as the USA. And guess what? You have a sponsor, so you don't have to pay for anything.
And guess what? Bombay's banging your mom after this, so get over it.
No, he left his mom.
Yeah, she doesn't make an appearance. I think he's probably died of a broken heart.
They gave a Costco brand replacement.
Yeah, totally.
They gave
absolutely.
It was a Kirkland's version of Charlie's mom, which was the teacher, tutor
who was like a fill-in coach when Bombay got too big-headed.
When he was soul-searching, and he came back with his stupid duck call.
So many duck calls, which I get, but if I had duck calls and quacking by the end of it, I was just like almost happy to see the credits and move on to D3.
So it opens up with them. I think they were playing Trinidad and Tobago,
sweet uniforms too.
Sweet unis,
probably the best unis in the whole tournament.
But that is more impossible than a Jamaican bobsled team.
I thought that too.
Like, you're telling me this island nation of like 1 million people are gonna have 20 kids who play hockey
and just a hockey rink to practice in a radius that's could accommodate those 20 kids.
What are we doing? Like, you couldn't pick like Slovenia or
somewhere where they actually play soccer,
where they play hockey.
I'll tell you what, though, when they scored that one goal, so they lost like 12-1, they threw a fucking party. They were just there to have a good time. They knew they weren't going to win.
Happy to be there.
Happy to be
They're
there.
happy to be there.
I was happy for them.
And then I think they rolled Germany, like 7-1 or something.
No,
like that
one was close.
Or was that close?
That was close because my boy Averman, the Jew of the team that we all love, he had the game-winning goal. His time was running out, and they went to the victory V formation. Averman was in the back, and Averman had the game-winning goal against those Nazi Germanys. I bet Hans' heart broke that day.
He was in Germany standing trial.
He was on war crimes trial, yeah.
According to you, which
and
I don't subscribe to that theory.
Why wasn't he there?
Because he had to go back home.
To stand trial for atrocities committed.
Maybe somebody died. Maybe he's going to a funeral. Maybe he's going to visit friends.
I think they said something about his mom being sick. His mom always loved us more. That's probably because he had a pure bloodline, for all we know. I don't know.
I don't believe you. I don't want to believe you. I'm not going to believe you. That's not what happened.
We'll see what happens in 3. This will be a determining factor with the legacy of Hans.
And then here comes the game with Iceland, which Iceland was a weird villain choice.
Yeah, it's Russia. They're just calling them Iceland.
But Russia was in the game. Well, Russia was in the tournament.
I think they just didn't make them the villains, though, because,
Canada.
Canada's too nice to be a villain.
But not in hockey.
They're still pretty nice. They're good, but I don't. You see how dirty Iceland played? That was like the dirtiest game both times they played them, and their little scrimmage with coaches.
Well, because they were all over 6 foot and grown men.
They could have made it. Who did America beat after they beat Russia to win the? Wasn't it Finland in 1980?
Yeah,
Miracle
something
on
like
Ice?
that. Yeah, something like that.
Make it Finland.
Yeah, make it Finland.
Iceland. I think
Sweden,
I literally think they
Norway.
picked Iceland because idiots like us growing up think that whole country is made of ice. It's called Iceland. Of course, they probably skate to school.
Well,
they probably skate to work.
Well, the hot Iceland coach makes that distinction, and it's actually the opposite. No, well, he is very pretty. He is a very pretty man. But no, she says Iceland is very green. Greenland's covered in ice.
Which I always thought heard growing up too, and I was like, why the fuck don't they switch names?
Iceland. You just don't think of that as a hockey rich
I don't know
nation.
what to think of Iceland other than
they're
D2.
good. Well, they had a
villain.
Their soccer team made a huge run at the Euro 2016.
Did they start the skull
They
thing?
started they started the Viking
that's really cool.
clap chant. But they get rocked. What was it? 12-1?
12-1, I think. Yeah.
12-1.
Goldberg should have been pulled immediately.
Adam Banks, our hero from the original movie, Can't Catch a Break.
He got a cheap shot.
He scores. The guy slashes. He
totally dirty.
Yeah, he slams his stick. He hits him with the stick in the wrist.
And that guy got 2 minutes in the box for basically breaking Banks' arm after two Ducks got ejected earlier in the game. Remember at the very first face-off when the other, not Fulton Reed, the other
Dean
tough guy, Portman got in there and like just kind of pushed the guy, and 3 seconds into the game, he's ejected.
Well, because the ref came up behind his back and he just kind of turned and knocked him over, and that's what he got ejected for. And
3 seconds in, and then the replacement goalie,
Julie,
who was probably getting like a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of like,
I'm sure.
And then she just kind of like pushed him, and they're like, "You're out of here too." And then this fucking guy basically breaks Banks' forearm. They're like, "All right, buddy, you're in there for 2 minutes. Don't do that again."
And then when he's in the box, Dean Portman comes from somewhere, and they couldn't just retire. They couldn't just let the leather jacket go with the first movie. He's in a leather jacket and a bandana, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill you." So they lose.
Embarrassed.
They're embarrassed by Iceland.
Pathetic.
So,
Bombay's speech.
And of course, they go to the old bag of tricks where Gordon Bombay kind of loses sight of what,
he got a taste of that Malibu life.
What he needs to do.
Gave up on those kids quick.
They go in the locker room after the game. He's upset. He said, all I see is Team USA, 1 game away from elimination. They start undressing. They just got their ass kicked. And he's like, what are you doing? Don't take your pads off. He's like, get on the ice. And he's making them do sprints. And Charlie comes up to him, well, we're not having fun. He's like, well, we're not supposed to have fun, Charlie. We're 1 game away from elimination. And then he gets humbled, and he burns I guess he makes like a Gordon Bombay effigy, and he burns it, and he's like, all right, we're done with this. We're going to get back to having fun. I think they beat Canada, and they beat one other team in the remaining group play games, and they advanced to the finals.
You're skipping over though how the team got back together on the
mean streets
playing some tag team. Whoop! There it is. Some playground style hockey, getting humbled by the kids on the streets, learning about that knuckle puck shot, which is the most impossible shot in hockey. But then
we get introduced to Nate Tyler earlier in the movie, which is played by Kenan Thompson.
Yep.
He's kind of talking
ultimate shit talker.
He's kind of talking mess in the stands. He kind of backs it up, but him and his brother, for some reason
they teach him to love the game again.
For some reason, the entire team happens to have skates, gloves, sticks, all the equipment when they were just going to do like some calisthenics. Apparently, they were ready to go. They go play street hockey.
Must have been really close too, because apparently they ain't driving. They must have bladed
They had a bus.
over.
They had a bus.
Of course,
because it shows them. It shows them getting picked up by the bus.
Well, they have a driver.
Got a driver.
Just been chilling, smoking a Marlboro.
But so Adam Banks gets hurt. Charlie comes to Coach Bombay and says, "Hey, I know we got an open roster spot. I think I found somebody." Turns out it's Nate Tyler, the knuckle puck guy, the shit talker.
One trick pony.
Which makes me wonder, like, was roster? How many roster violations did they have here? Yeah. I mean, you're subbing in this guy, and then right before the final, Adam Banks comes back and his wrist is all good. He can move the stick, and then he's just like, "Well, I guess you're out, knuckle puck guy." And then Charlie does the noble thing. He's like, "No, coach, take my spot."
Oh, Charlie hit puberty at one point in the movie?
Well, that doesn't happen until D3, I don't think, but that's just me kind of. I've given him 2 voices. I'm not I'm not.
Well, we find out later. I think Charlie's more of he's headed in the coach's direction.
Well,
he's going to play while he can, but that's going to be a coach.
Well, I think he said he had the line like, how I always said I'd make a better coach than a player when he's bringing Tyler, the Keenan Thompson to the team. But anyway, we get down to and before that, before we get to the final, it's the night before the final. They're having a skate around. Coach Bombay wants to keep it loose. They got a beach ball out there. They're just hanging out.
And what happens?
Team Iceland shows up, full gear,
row, just intimidation,
full gear. They're ready to, they're very Bill Belichick approach with no days off.
Yeah, for sure.
They're practicing. The dentist
crushes the
beach ball. Coach Stanson's like, it's our ice. Bombay's like, no, I think it's ours. And then he makes fun of Gordon for having no career, and Gordon comes back and says your career was a joke. And then they're like, well, how about we play a little game for the ice time? It's 3-bar, so you got to hit one off the each post and one off the crossbar. So I think Stanson takes the early lead. Gordon comes back and gets 2 quick ones. Takes another one away from the dentist, and then Gordon's triple deking is about to win,
there.
And then he just gets a slash right to that bad knee, which we forgot to mention at the beginning.
Yeah, that was actually the whole beginning of how he went back to coaching, because he was in the minors. He was this close to making it to the NHL, and it was like a check in the boards, which checking the boards, and he goes down holding his knee.
Yeah,
so, tough break.
So Stanson slashes him in that knee. He goes down.
Stanson did his research to know about that injury from a minor league hockey game.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
He was aiming for that fucking knee.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
God.
So,
coach.
That's just kind of setting up this whole game. We get into the final. First period doesn't go well.
Just because you got Goldberg in there.
Goldberg was never a good goalie.
He was never a good goalie. He never should have been behind there. They never even gave Julie a shot.
Typical coach speak. Lip service to her right after he said, hey, you'll get your chance.
He promised her all that, man. He filled her with so many promises, and then he let Goldberg give up 12 goals one time, and like 5, weren't they up like 3-0 or 4-0 like after one? It's like, pull fucking Goldberg. He doesn't even want to be there.
And so second period, more Iceland domination. I think going into the third, it was 4-0. And turning point of the movie, they break out the Ducks jerseys. Everybody kind of stands up and says, I'm Charlie Conway. I'm from Duluth, Minnesota. And I'm Dean Portman from blah-da-da-da. And I'm Kenny Lou from San Francisco, because of course I am. And wouldn't you know it, they go out, gangbusters on fire.
They had a song on cue, too. Instead of We Will Rock You, it was We Will Quack You.
They had a song already.
They had that on deck, dude. Before the puck dropped for the third period, they were singing We Will Quack You.
And then, the writers were smart, because they put in the movie what we were all thinking, and they made a line. They added a line and says there's no rules on changing uniforms.
Yeah, you had to have that line.
Even my wife was like, can you do that? And when my wife, like, who knows nothing about sports, is like, she's questioning a sports movie, like, you've messed up somewhere. And then the third period just gets all kinds of wacky.
Yeah, there was like an alley-oop shot where I don't remember who it was, but someone just flicked the puck across up in the sky across the whole ring, and then it just like lands in one I think it was Banks, just like he went to go get it, but he got tripped in front of the goal, so he just like slammed into the puck and got it between the goals. Like the most improbable, like wacky goals you've ever seen.
And then I forget the girl's name, but Averman's girlfriend, she gets checked.
Connie.
She was going to get checked.
Yeah.
Cowboy jumps the wall.
There's a rope. Literally next to there's a rope.
He brought his rope to the bench for whatever reason.
It's literally
so
right
he hops the bench. He skates across the ice, ropes the dude, and pulls him back just before he hits her.
2 minutes for roping.
This is a classic case of why you shouldn't go back and watch things that were great as a kid as an adult.
Yeah, you nitpick so hard.
You just nitpick, and I'm like, that would never happen. But when I was 9, that was awesome.
Yeah, you wanted to be the guy roping and saving the girl.
And then I think Kenny Wu does some ridiculous stuff.
He got in a fight with a goalie, and he remembered what he learned on the streets.
Yeah.
Drop the stick, throw the gloves, and pull the shirt over him. And then he gave off like some really soft punches. He goes into the penalty box. The Bash brothers get all worked up. They go on like this most ridiculous tirade of like banging the glass and hyping up the crowd, which would be a total like delay of game. They're hyping up the crowd. They skate past the Iceland bench and slap them all on the heads. They're just getting so worked up, and then they get put in the penalty box. We're talking about a 5-on-2 now, realistically.
The fan in me, or the sports fan in me, was like, you just put your team at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, you're gonna give up so many goals now because you're down 5-2.
Hey,
on
Bombay,
the ice.
why don't you get a hold of your team?
Yeah, and he finally did at the end. He's like, come on, let's play some hockey. It's like, yeah, you got 3 guys in the box. Finally play some hockey. But again, it's Disney, and we're in our 30s talking about this movie.
It's not sad at all. So it comes down to a shootout.
Yeah, finally.
In the final
Should
shootout.
have put in Julie a long time ago.
Oh.
Wouldn't have had to shoot out.
One of the goals, and we're doing a terrible job at recapping this, by the way, so if you're still there, we apologize.
We're wrapping it up, man. It's
We're
the
getting
shootout.
there.
We're almost done.
So one of the other ridiculous things that happened, so they got Keenan Thompson lined up for a knuckle puck, right?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Well, of course, in reality, you've got to receive the puck, try to tip it on its
Which
edge.
is difficult because we tried that growing up. You know,
We all tried it,
puck,
and
half
usually-
the time it falls over.
Usually I had to bend down and pick it up and set it up. I couldn't do it with the stick,
Yeah,
much less
right.
on skates, on ice, with people rushing
People
me.
rushing you, yeah.
But he gets it up, and he rears back and is about to fire, and he gets lit up, and they go down
Which
and they
is
steal
one
the
of
puck.
the only realistic scenes in that movie.
Yeah. So, they call a timeout. Gordon wants to get him to take a shot, but he's like, hey, they're gunning for me.
Yeah.
So what do they do? They do all switcheroo. Somehow they take the time in the
Yeah, we don't see how this happens.
in the
It just
time of a
happens.
timeout, which is maybe it's 30
I
seconds,
think
probably
30 to
maybe a
60.
minute.
Yeah.
They switch a goalie,
Which is a lot of gear.
a lot of gear,
A lot of gear to put on.
and they put Keenan Thompson as goalie. They pass him the puck, pass him a stick, and he gets a knuckle puck off and scores
From like center ice, too.
from center
I
ice.
don't even know if he crossed the halfway part of
He
the
may-
ice. They
he
just
may
handed him
not
a
have.
stick, and he goes, knuckle puck, here we go. And it's like, it's the most ridiculous
Which wouldn't it
shot.
be like a blue line, 2-line violation? I believe.
I believe so, but again, Disney, and we're...
We don't care about continuity. We don't care if it's real. At the end, our guys are going to win.
At the end, I just want to see that American flag waving.
So it comes down to a shootout. They tie the game up with no time left, of course. They go to a shootout. I think Adam Banks makes his...
Banks went last.
Yeah, he made his. And there was a couple misses and makes for each.
Got one because Fulton Reed, because his went off the goalie's like skull, which probably gave him a huge concussion.
Oh, yeah,
and he
and
falls down and the puck just drops across
And
the
then
blue
he did
line.
that cool thing where he just stood up and like put his stick through like a sword, and it makes like the sound effect. It's like shing.
But I'm glad he didn't do like some good cheesy like guitar shredding sound. So at least that was better than like a really cheesy. And then he like straddled it on his back, so could have been worse.
So here's where Julie gets her chance.
Finally,
He's like Gunnar Stahl.
the Iceland players had such cool names
They
too.
had Gunnar Stahl. That's such a
It was
cool
like
name.
Carlson, like a last name Stalls and Carlson and Ericsson's. Also, it's like in real life they would have crushed Team USA. All those guys were like
They were men.
6'3". Yeah,
They were men.
grown men. Like at least at very worst, they were a college level. Like University of Minnesota level hockey team.
And the guy who played Gunnar Stahl, he went on to do some other stuff, and I didn't do the research, of course, because that's what we do, is we don't do the research on stuff like this. But he went on to play in other stuff in the future. But Gordon Bombay actually shows some coaching acumen and is like, hey, he's going to go glove side.
Triple D glove side.
Julie, you've got the strong glove side. And she's like, well, how do you know? He's like, just trust me. So she puts him in. Sure enough, they slow it down. He comes to a complete stop.
Yeah, which wouldn't happen.
Winds up, shoots, and then the whole place goes silent. She's sitting there like they wouldn't see that she caught it.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole time. You'd either see it in the back of the net and the fucking siren would go off, but it's like tense moment, and then she just drops it
the
all
puck.
cool, and it's
Mic
like,
drop.
Oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, y'all would have fucking known that because you can't see the puck in the goal, and a siren's not blaring throughout the arena. So obviously we know she stopped it.
So that is D2. Our Ducks are victorious once again. And next week we will do D3, which we kind of previewed. They get scholarships to a prestigious prep school there in Minnesota. I think they're all on JV or something, and they've got to earn their way to varsity. I think that may be the plot, and there's tension because they want to be Ducks, and they can't adapt to a new team and a new style. And Gordon's not the coach anymore. And oh, I'm sorry.
He's on the cover though.
He's in the movie. He's in the movie. But yeah, they replace him with another coach. But yeah, that's for next week. We'll do that next week. But that was the coverage for D2. Still a cool movie. I still had fun watching it.
Enjoyable,
and
yeah.
I know we picked it apart, and that was kind of the idea. But it's still a cool movie. It was still cool going back and watching it because I hadn't seen it in I don't know, 20 years plus.
I can understand why I loved hockey back then.
Oh, it was so
Stars
cool.
were, like we said last episode, Stars were on a tear in the late 90s, and Mighty Ducks 1, 2, and 3 all come out in our childhood.
Yeah, and it wasn't made for adults. It was made for kids. And as a kid, it was really cool. It just didn't hold up to the original. The original one was still...
Like Sandlot still holds up.
Yeah.
That's still a really good movie. I could watch, we could review that in the coming weeks, and we would probably say nothing but great things.
Yeah.
Which... Benny the Jet was Espinoza from Miami.
Yeah, he was the kid from he was the speedster from Miami
who learned to stop because of yawn.
Yawn showed him.
And Coke cans. Every time he knocked over those Coke cans, how many minutes did it take to set that back
can't
up?
you just pick some cones?
Yeah, he
Cones.
literally set up 100 cans, and he would knock them over. Oh, let's do it again. Okay, I'll take a 30-minute break while you set up these cans.
Cones would be much more
Yeah,
efficient.
I was watching that thing. What a waste of time, dude.
Oh man, so that was our coverage of D2. Like we said at the beginning, if y'all have any movies that you would want us to review and discuss in the future episodes, email us or drop us a line on Twitter, and we'll take it into consideration.
Yeah, we'll obviously watch anything because we just did D1 and D2, and next up's D3. So if you want have anything that actually got nominations or actually is worth watching, let us know because we'll watch anything.
And that brings us to our favorite segment of the show, 60 Seconds on Big Brother.
All right, let's go.
What you got?
All right. So this week we had Enzo, a.k.a. this is the nickname he goes by, Meow Meow. He's like a 40-something-year-old guy from Jersey. He goes
That's
by
so
Meow Meow.
cringy, dude.
Yeah, Meow Meow.
But why do Jersey people do that?
They
On the
always
Jersey
give themselves
Shore, it's like the
nicknames.
Situation,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
nicknames.
JWoww and Snooky. What is that? Why?
Enzo's a cool name too. It's Italian as fuck. He's Italian as fuck. It's I would totally be Enzo.
And then you go with Meow Meow?
Meow Meow. Yep.
All right.
Meow
Continue.
Meow. He won the HOH, and he nominated Kesar. Kesar was up last week with Janelle because they were ride or die together. He nominated Kesar and Kevin. He told Kevin he's a pawn, which means I have to put up two people. You're not one of the ones I'm going for. I'm going for Kesar. So and we all knew if Kesar loses, he'll be out. He has no votes. He only had one person really backing him. He's a free agent is what they'd say. He's got no one to go for. So he's out there just trying to talk to people. He's trying to convince people that if you keep me here, I have no alliances or allies in this game at all. I will completely work with you. I'll vote however you want me to vote. I'll be your extra vote. I'll be your body to play for. And so anyways, we get to the power veto, and that's where the two nominees try to veto They try to veto the nominations by winning this competition. So it was an endurance competition called the Puppet Master, where they had to put their feet in. They were suspended in air with their feet in on strings, and they're holding on. And it was like they were what's it called, a marionette. Yeah. So they're getting pulled all these different ways, and so it's an endurance comp just to see how long you can hold up and hold your balance. And anyways, Kevin wins. He was one of the nominees, so he takes himself off, obviously. And Enzo now has to pick a replacement. And instead of making a big move and backdooring, because that's when you can backdoor someone and blindside them, instead of making a big move like he talked about all week, he puts up another pawn, this lady named Christmas. And it was just a fucking waste.
Is that her God-given name?
Yeah, that's her name, and her son's name's Loyal. I don't know, man. She wears hats that say Loyal, and her name's Christmas. She's really cool, though. I like her.
She's a stripper?
No, she's actually like a fitness instructor, and has her own
yeah, okay.
Man.
She's a stripper.
Well, maybe at one point. I mean, she's really fit, obviously, but she's really cool. She's really nice.
She accidentally put her stripper name down on the form
Just
instead of her real name.
Yeah, her real name's
Let's not lie
Denise.
here.
So, and yeah, I just don't get why they were so. Everyone's dead set on getting out Kesar, and he literally has no one else in this game. He's a sitting duck. They should have taken out a big player and just blindsided him, and just you can keep Kesar there. He's not going to hurt anybody. He doesn't have any votes to help him out. So it was a weak HOH. You know, instead of taking out a big player, for example, Danny or Ian, he bitches out. He wanted to get Enzo was quoted as saying, "I want to be drenched in blood during my HOH. I want to get so dirty," and he wasted it. It was essentially, just a big waste. He didn't get out a big player. But anyways, the votes are going down tonight, so it's either going to be it's not going to be Christmas. She's a pawn. Everybody likes Christmas, so it's going to be Kaser going out. And
that's true both in Big Brother and in life. Everybody loves Christmas.
Except for postal workers.
True.
But anyway, so votes are going down tonight. Well, me and my wife will watch it tonight, and they'll probably find out who's the new HOH because it's like a quick turnaround. As soon as someone's voted out, there has to be a new HOH to make new nominations, and it's just a cycle just repeats.
Okay.
And you just grind your way down to 2.
Next season, I'm going to be in it with you. You've
Hell yeah.
convinced me. So
you'll be in the group chat with me, Ryan, and Ben.
I'll have something to contribute other than stupid smart-ass comments during the segment.
That's how you learn. That's how I learned.
But I think you convinced me last week. There's enough interest there for me to pick it up and.
And it's not just people always talking, which they do talk game, but there's a lot of competitions, and the competitions are always different. They're always like themed. It's huge production value.
So it's like Survivor mixed with like a like
really
road
is.
rule or like a real world like challenge.
That's a great way to describe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's the competitions like them, but it's like the mental game like Survivor. Well, Survivor also has those, but yeah, it's that's a great way to describe it. Survivor meets like road rules, real world challenge.
Okay. All right. I'm in. And with that, that's going to take us to our sports segment. We're going to cover some sports here for a little bit. And I've held off on this topic and this sport because I know it's not the most popular. But for those of you who don't know me, I am a big soccer guy. I played soccer growing up. I played in high school. I played club. I played a little bit of college soccer. Soccer is probably 1B for me, right behind football. And the only reason I bring this story up is because it involves the debatable, arguable best player in the world, best player in history, Lionel Messi, and his saga with Barcelona. He's been with Barcelona for since 2001. He was 13 years old. He left Argentina. He signed with Barcelona for back in 2001, and he wants out. Barcelona. Go ahead.
He wasn't starting at that point. He was like in their juniors club or something.
Yeah, he was in their academy, and I think
I was gonna say he's been a pro for like 19 years.
I think he made his debut at 16.
Jeez, that's still a long time.
15, 16, 17, somewhere in there.
Wow, that's impressive.
I mean, he's the best in the world. The only thing holding him back from not being the best player of all time unanimously is he doesn't have a World Cup title, and that's just because Argentina's cycle. Player pool, didn't line up with him in, his prime. It's a lot of him having to carry an entire nation, an entire team on his back. And that was a good example last World Cup and the World Cup before that.
Could the same be said for Ronaldo, though, from Portugal?
But Ronaldo has, I believe he has a title under his belt. I think they won a Euro title.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, he hadn't won a World Cup.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking is World Cup level.
But it's so hard when you get to that level because when you're from Portugal, who has a storied history, and they have good squads, they're just not your elite. They're not Brazil. They're not Germany. But I mean, Messi and Ronaldo are arguably the best in the world, best of all time. And for a lot of years there, up until 3 years ago, they were in the same league playing. They were rivals, playing rival clubs. As you had Barcelona and Real Madrid, Barcelona and Messi, and they had their tiki-taka style where they called it death by 1,000 passes. They would just pass you to death, and then one small opening, boom, they're on goal. It would be all these short little intricate passes, and then it would be Messi opening it up and finding a forward, making a run, or it was Messi dribbling 4 or 5 players and then shooting or giving an assist. And then you had Real Madrid, and you had players like Beckham, Kaká, Karim Benzema, and so those two would just battle it out for the La Liga title every year. But it seems like it's coming his days at Barcelona are coming to an end. In his contract, he has an $830 million buyout clause.
That's almost as much as Cheerios
Yeah.
sells in a year.
Yeah. So just to get the rights to sign Messi, you'd have to pay $830 million. That's not including his reported $120 million per year contract. Now, to put that in perspective, Patrick Mahomes just signed a deal for $40 million per year, and people go nuts. People, you cannot fathom the money that is in club soccer around the world.
I made you repeat the numbers when you first said
it's $120 million per year. It'd be a 5-year deal. Now, what's interesting is Manchester City offers them a 5-year deal. 3 of those would be at Man City, where he would be reunited with Pep Guardiola, who he played for at Barcelona, and they won Champions League and La Liga titles and broke records together. And the last 2 years of the contract would be at NYCFC, who is owned by Manchester City, the City Football Group. So 3 years at Man City in England, and then he would come over and play 2 years in MLS.
You think they would do that just to get interest in MLS? Like, why would you take one of the best players away from your team?
Because at that point he's going to be 37. He's going to be 36.
LeBron's 37.
He's going to be 36, 37. So for me, that's huge. The only problem is he's got to go to NYCFC, who play their games in Yankee Stadium, and the pitch is narrow. It's way more narrow than I think it's like 10 yards more narrow on each side, because
they can do that.
They've got to fit it in. It's right on the small scale of where the minimum scale of where you can have your dimensions.
Oh, I didn't know there was.
Now, most teams want the field wide, so you can get wide, you can space it out, you can pull people out wide, and that creates lanes in the middle of the pitch. But that's really interesting that I would be able to see Leo Messi play a game, for instance, in Frisco.
Coming to Dallas, Frisco. Hell yeah!
It'd be a boom
Stop
for the
at
league.
Jersey Mike's.
It would.
I'm there.
Jersey Mike's. It would be bigger than Beckham. It would be bigger than name anybody. And Beckham was huge for the league. It would be bigger than anybody that ever came. And NYCFC has had big players. They had Frank Lampard for a couple years. And I know I'm going to say some names and people aren't going to know. That David Villa, he's a World Cup winner with Spain. He's a Euro winner with Spain. He played for NYCFC. Kaká played for Orlando City. Now Nani is down there in Orlando City. It would be, name anybody, it would be the biggest move in MLS history. Wow. And it's just exciting that he may end up in MLS, 3 years down the road. But yesterday, Messi's father flew to Barcelona to hold talks with the Barcelona execs, and he was quoted as saying, "My son doesn't want to stay here." So
was it just didn't they get blown out in the
Champions League?
Yeah, embarrassing.
Bayern Munich beat them 8-2, and the writing's kind of been on the wall for Barcelona. They've had problems in the front office. They've had problems on the board. Their president, people are losing faith in him. And that just leaves about 2 clubs in the entire world that can afford him. It's Man City and it's PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and they play in France. They've got stars like Neymar. They've got Kylian Mbappe, who is one of the brightest young stars in the game. He just won the World Cup. He was a key figure in France's. He was a key figure in France's World Cup victory in 2018 World Cup. So that only about 2 clubs have the bankroll.
$820 million just to get his rights.
Yeah, then you got to pay him $120 per year.
They're talking about $1 billion plus. Closer to a $1.5 billion investment over 5 years.
And I saw a breakdown of per day, per hour, per minute. The dude's earning if he gets this new contract, he would earn something crazy like $1,400 per second.
Bezos makes over $2,000 per second, so he'd be an elite company.
Yeah, or it may not be that, but yeah. So we could in 5-10 years ago, if you would have told me that Leo Messi was going to play on anybody and play on any other team other than Barcelona, I would have called you crazy, because it just seemed like he was going to be one of those rare guys in modern sports who signed with a club and he wrote it out, and that was his club. And there's talks from his original club, Newell's Old Boys in Argentina, the club that he started at until he was 13 in their youth program. They want him to come back. They want him to come back and finish out his career there. But really, he got so much shit from the country of Argentina for not winning the World Cup and all these World Cup failures and all these Copa America failures. I just don't think Leo wants to go back. Because he doesn't feel appreciated. He at one point he retired from international competition because he was just tired of the criticism. He carried the entire nation.
Yeah, I would say being asked to carry an entire nation gotta hurt your back.
Yeah,
it's like Cleveland or LeBron winning that title for Cleveland. He put the whole city on his back. That city collectively hadn't won a title since like '54 when the Indians won it or something.
And in Argentina. Here recently have not put good teams around him.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
They haven't put good teams around him, and he's had to do the majority of the work. And so I just don't see him. I think I give it a 0.1% chance of him going back to Argentina. He'll probably end up at City, back with Guardiola, and it'll be wild to see Leo Messi play in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'd watch those on Saturday mornings.
It's going to be wild. But I spent way too much time on soccer. I hope people are still with us. So today the Cowboys cut Clinton Dix, and immediately the Twitter world blew up and said, "Hey, doors open for Earl Thomas now."
Yep.
I just don't. When we texted about it today, and I said, "Yeah, probably give him a veteran minimum, low risk, high reward," but I just don't think so. But because the more I thought about it, the fact that two premier franchises in the league got rid of him
with Super Bowl aspirations.
They got rid of him, and the fact that he's been cut for this long and has no offers, that speaks volumes.
So he's had a weird offseason too. Didn't he having a threesome with?
I don't think it was a threesome. I think
his brother was there.
Well,
right?
I think he was with a chick and his brother was with a chick.
Okay,
but they were in the same room.
I'm not weird.
That's super weird.
That's super weird.
Like I don't.
What are you conversating with your brother during all this? Like
Eiffel Tower. I don't, dude. I don't know, man.
And then his wife shows up waving a gun, and then he
rightly
punches
so
a teammate.
I just
team. It's like, yeah, like I get the talent, but I think our locker room right now with the new coaching system, really like everyone's new except Kellen Moore. I think they feel like a fresh like wave coming on, like they're riding that high, and we've brought in some dysfunctional guys. Everson Griffin was out of the league with like mental problems.
He had mental.
Alden Smith was like, didn't he threaten to have a bomb at an airport? Like we got some kids, and they've reformed themselves. I'm not trying to bring up their past and drudge them, but because I think they've they're repairing their image and they're playing as hard as they can and doing their best. But I don't know if I want to bring in Earl Thomas. I get why he's such a good piece, but like you said, no one else is giving him offers. That says something.
I don't think Jerry's gonna be able to help himself. He's not. And look,
Steven, hopefully, fucking.
Well, if we do it this way, if we do it at the veteran minimum. Venomum. You hate abbreviations though, or is that more of like a mashup?
Combo, yeah,
or is that like a mashup? Okay, okay. If we do veterans minimum and you give him the shortest lease possible. I think I do have a point that it's low risk, high reward. If he does come here and he does behave, my God, we've just added a top 5 safety on top of this defense.
Yeah,
that's already getting good reviews coming out of camp.
If you could promise me he'd be on a short lease and actually held responsible for shit,
I think that would be McCarthy's stipulation. I'm like, all right, Jerry, like I'm doing it your way, but if he comes in here and he starts messing this up, he's gone.
Creating waves, because he cut Clinton Dix, and that was his guy in Green Bay, wasn't he? A first-round pick for them,
first or second, but he got outplayed. I told you last week, and it continued this week that he was not good. He was getting outplayed by Darian Thompson.
What?
And you're thinking about who that is, and that should tell you something.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, it's not the guy from A&M.
No, Darian Thompson's kind of been a journeyman.
Oh fuck, that ain't good.
But he got outplayed by him. And Xavier Woods has got his spot.
Yeah.
He's got his spot.
We're trying to pair up next.
And then
time.
we're also
Shouldn't have let Heath go, man.
We're also toying with the notion of playing the cat from Tulsa that we drafted.
Just drafted. I heard Cheeto could get moved over there too.
There's been talks of moving them back to safety, but if we could add Earl Thomas and he's here and he's on his best behavior, I know that's a lot of ifs.
Scary roster. That's a great roster on paper.
Yeah.
But we always seem to have a good roster on paper. That's why I think this year's different with the new coaching staff.
I think we've been handcuffed for a decade
fuck yeah.
by a coach.
Even before that, Wade Phillips, great roster.
But
Camp Cupcake.
But Jerry Jones did Wade Phillips no favors because when he brought Wade in, he already had Garrett there, and Garrett it was almost said without saying it, this is my next guy. You're a placeholder.
Yeah.
So I think that handcuffed Wade, and I don't think Wade.
But he
was
didn't hold the players accountable.
No,
either.
and I don't think Wade was a good head coach, and we've seen what he can do as
He's
a coordinator.
Yeah, great coordinator.
But the whole Garrett Jerry thing that
It's a
didn't help
love
out.
fest.
That didn't
God.
help out either.
That's why I'm actually glad we didn't make the playoffs. I think maybe we could have won a game last year in the playoffs, but we weren't going to win the title. And if that's what it took to get Garrett out, great. Let the Eagles have it that year, and let's start all over. And we got CD Lamb with that draft pick. So
That's right.
Garrett and add CD. Fuck yeah.
Leonard Fournette was cut by the Jags.
They already declined his 5th-year option, so
yeah,
it was kind of like just wait and see what happens. I thought maybe they'd give him this year to, maybe try to trade him. Fuck, I would have tried to trade him if I could.
So he signed with Tampa Bay, and that made me question: Are they building a super team? Because now you've got Brady, you've got Gronk.
You know what happened the last time a team claimed to be the dream team, the super team, was Philly after they re-signed, like they had Vic and Vince Young on the roster and all this shit, and that didn't work out for them.
But Vic ain't Tom Brady.
But Vic could throw the ball 30 yards and scramble. I'm just not as big as I get. Tom Brady's won 5 Super Bowls or 6 Super Bowls. I get, but I mean, fucking age is undefeated.
Yeah, it is.
Or what is it? Father Time's
undefeated.
And he's still great, or he's still good. He's not great, and the weapons they got are excellent around him.
But there's a lot coming out now that he's gone out of New England. There's a lot coming out that he wasn't happy in New England for like the last 3 or 4 years. He wasn't respected. Him and well, that's a claim his wife made, which I don't. God. Him and Belichick didn't get along. Belichick wanted him gone. I don't think anybody
gets along with Belichick.
Belichick wanted him gone, and Bobby Kraft kept him there. He's probably got that post-cum, enlightenment and from getting his tuggies in massage parlors and
on a random strip in Florida.
Story.
That story went away too, didn't it?
Well, of course it did.
Of course it did. Getting a tug in a sexual trafficking women, and yeah, that shit's just gone from the headlines. But anyways,
but he was. There's now all that stuff's coming out. I think they'll make the playoffs because there is going to be an extra playoff team this year.
It's a good division though. They got to get
a good
past
division.
The Saints.
Yeah. Carolina's not going to do anything.
Atlanta's not, but Saints. That's what you got to watch out for. We're going to play them twice.
But you've got.
They got weapons, but I couldn't tell you a single lineman, and I couldn't tell you
Tristan Wirfs. They just drafted Tristan Wirfs.
Okay, so they got a rookie. Is that the guy that's like a beast of a human?
And they showed him jumping out of the pool, like he was in the pool, and they showed him jumping,
which is way like I couldn't do it.
He's like 6'7", like 300 pounds. He runs like a 4.7.
Okay, so they got a beast of a man on the line, and he's going to have to protect his blind side. But, and I know they have Levante David, still a good player at linebacker, but I just don't know much of their. And again, I'm not a Tampa Bay fan. I'm not a NFC South fan, so I don't scout these other teams. But great weapons. Don't get me wrong. They got solid receivers, great tight end. They got Ronald Jones was their running back. He's still a good running back. They got 2 good running backs. But we'll see. I really hope Tom Brady just his arm falls off.
And it might.
And he drinks his guacamole juice or whatever the fuck he drinks to say
his TB12 health.
His TB12, to get him back out there.
But it's a good thing, Leonard Fournette is signing the short-term deal because the 2021 running back free agent market is absolutely stacked. Let me just run through some names, of who is going to be available in 2021, and this will make you mad considering the deal that we gave Zeke.
I'm already mad.
So
that we
listen to
gave
these
that deal to
names.
Zeke.
Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Matt Breida, Chris in Seattle,
Chris
Carson, Alvin Kamara, Philip Lindsay, Marlon Mack, Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, Kareem Hunt, and Tariq Cohen.
Jesus.
That's the 2021.
And you could buy some of those guys near the end. You could pair them up for less than what we're paying Zeke and get fresh legs out there on every series.
That is an insane.
That's a great running back class,
That's
man.
an insane the free agent market next year. So good for Leonard. Getting out of Jacksonville, because that brings me to my next point. With this move and the Ngakoue move, the trade to Minnesota, he took a $7 million pay cut to get out of Jacksonville.
That's telling.
Calais Campbell out, Fournette, probably some other moves I'm forgetting about. The Jags are openly tanking for Trevor Lawrence, and they've made it apparent with this move and some other moves.
I think there's going to be a few teams that might tank for him.
If they win 4 games, I'll be shocked.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because all you've got
set the over under at 3.5, and I'd be tough to.
You've got Minshew,
and Minshew's good. That's what I was telling you earlier. If they start like 2-2 or even like 2-3, it's hard to just say we're going to tank the season because you got a young quarterback who's obviously connecting with his receivers, and that guy was like a fucking sensation last year. He's a very likable, marketable guy. I would hate to just say, oh, it's because we have a shot at someone else that we're going to tank this season and basically say your career's over. We're going to get rid of you or regulate you to a backup, because he earned the right to at least give him a good, or as good of a team as you can put around him, just to see what he can do. Because I really did like Minshew.
Yeah, and who's the receiver they have?
DJ Shark.
Yeah. So there's not much there.
There's not much there, no.
And this was
they might not even have to tank to win 3 games.
Yeah.
They might try their best and win 3 games.
And this is a team that 3 years ago was in the AFC Championship.
Was beating New England.
Yep. And in 3 years, I mean, it's just.
We forgot Jalen Ramsey. So what this all started with, trading Jalen Ramsey. Yeah. So yeah, once that piece fell, it just all fell apart. But that's kind of been Jacksonville since they. I remember, didn't they have Mark Brunell when they first came in? They made a championship game. And it was like, oh, they're pretty fucking good. And then 25 years later, they haven't. Which look at us, Cowboy fans. 25 years later, we haven't been to an NFC championship game. So who are we making fun of?
Let's not talk about that.
Moving on to basketball.
A couple more things. Cowboys kind of leaked through Everson Griffin's Twitter that they're going to wear navy Sunday night against the Rams.
I cannot wait. 1 week from Sunday.
He kind of showed his jersey being prepped and ready to go, saying he couldn't wait. And that's probably a big moment for him. He was a Cowboys fan growing up. Getting to see your name on the back of a Cowboys jersey is probably a big deal. And then I want to talk about, did you hear Kirk Cousins' comments about COVID? He took a very Ivan Drago, if I die,
I die. Not if he dies. If I die.
But I think he nailed it. He said he's not personally worried about it, but he does wear a mask out of respect and for other people. He goes, I'm not worried about it. I'm living my life. If I get it, if me and my family get it, we're healthy and we'll get through it. And he goes, if I die, I die. But I'm not changing my life.
He also has probably excellent health care coverage through his NFL team. So
easy.
not everyone can
and
have
tons
that
of money.
Yeah, no one else can have that stance like, well, because, maybe I can't afford this doctor bill if we get it. So that's a very, privileged thing to say.
But he did say that, hey, I do wear a mask when I'm out in public because out of respect for others.
That's what he said. I could say I got a 12-inch dick. Doesn't mean I'm going to.
But we both know that's not true.
We both know that ain't true.
But I just thought it was very...
Wait, why do you know that ain't true?
I could just tell.
You checking out my impression?
You're not a 12-inch. You're not a 12-inch guy.
Not,
you don't have that swagger.
No, I would probably show you if I had to. I'd just be so proud I'd have to show you.
At one of the drafts, one of the fantasy drafts, it would have come out. Or at least the topic would have been brought up. But I thought it was just funny that he had a very Ivan Drago stance on the whole COVID-19 situation.
Talking on the radio, they were like, what if one of his linemen had his grandma die? And they're like, is he going to block as hard for Kurt as he should?
Exactly.
That's the stance he took. So
exactly.
It's just a weird thing to make public. I mean, I get, I want to, it's your choice to make. I'm glad he says he wears it in public because I wear mine when I'm at work, when I go anywhere. We're not wearing them right now, but
So, real quick, we're going to move into the NBA matchups. Get you caught up on a little NBA. Say a quick goodbye to the Mavs. They put up a good fight.
it really was. That was noble considering you had. I heard somewhere because they said in the playoffs, KP and Luka played in the fourth quarter combined 4 minutes together.
Yeah.
So and then KP only played like a game and a half.
And it just gives you, a little glimpse into the future and what Luke is going to be. All that crap with Marcus Morris. And Marcus Morris is just upset that Luka was better at 16 than he is now.
He'll never be as good as Luka. Even in his prime, he wasn't as good at Luka at 16.
And, he fought and he just didn't have the help. And with a team like us who lives with the deep ball and live by the shot and they died by it.
Guys getting hot. If
Yeah.
no one's hot tonight, we're done because we don't. It's kind of like Houston. They live by the 3-point shot and they live by streaky players.
So the Mavs put up a good fight. It's going to be
really
exciting going forward.
The future's bright.
And we'll get to the Bucks here in a second, but if the Bucks.
Oh, I hope they lose.
If they lose, now there's these rumblings coming out of maybe Giannis coming to Dallas and pairing up with Luka and KP, and that makes my sports panties wet. Shout out to Nick. But that would make me very happy. And like we talked about last show, I think Luka's going to be one of those dudes who's going to be able to recruit because not only is he a great player. I think other dudes think he's cool. Like he's fashionable. He's funny. You hear him mic'd up. He
plays with the love of the game.
He plays with a lot of heart.
Big smile on his face all the time, which I really like.
He's good. He's very good.
On top of that, he's a generational talent.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the faces of the NBA.
He's already the face of international NBA, I think. I guess Giannis could be too, but he turned 21 this year, man.
It's going to be insane. So if we're officially on Giannis watch on thedadlabpod.
Yep.
Officially, that would just be awesome if that came true. But
come true.
In the Western Conference, your matchups are the LA Clippers and the Nuggets.
Yeah, that one's going right now.
And then
might be over actually, but
you've got the Lakers and Rockets, which the Lakers should sweep the Rockets because
at worst win 4-1
because the Harden Westbrook experiment.
Well, that, and you're gonna have AD, arguably the best big man in the game. I don't think it's an argument. I think he is the best big man. There's centers like PJ Tucker.
He's like 6'7".
Yeah, you're gonna have this guy with a wingspan of like 6 foot, like a 7'7" wingspan up against a guy like Luka. Yeah, who's a little bit bigger. PJ Tucker's more a filled out guy, but that matchup right there is a nightmare for him. And LeBron would be I think LeBron's 6'8". LeBron would be the biggest guy on the Houston, and they can beat you inside and outside, post game. Baseline jumpers at the elbow, they can just beat you in so many different ways.
It's looking like the NBA is gonna get what it wants and get an All LA Western Conference Finals. Over in the East, you've got Boston and the defending champion Toronto Raptors, and currently Boston's up 2-1 in that series.
Yeah, and Toronto needed a game-winning shot at the buzzer, like miracle shot to even win tonight. So if you've been watching the series, Boston's been handling them pretty.
But I've been impressed with Toronto. Losing Kawhi.
They still have good players.
Losing Kawhi.
They lost the Terminator, but they still have good players. Like I think if we played them, that would be like a Game 7.
It'd be a slugfest.
Yeah. So they're still a good team, but they literally lost a top 5 player.
And then speaking of Giannis, you've got the Bucks and the Miami Heat over on the other matchup, and it's currently 2-0 Miami, which is shocking.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got that cat. I forget his name.
Jimmy Buckets.
Him? No, he's the white.
Bam Adebayo.
No, he's the white dude.
Dragic.
No.
Tyler Hero.
Nope.
What white guy are we talking about? What team?
Miami. I read a story that he went from
Kelly Olynyk.
No. Hold on. Keep talking. I'm gonna do.
There's only so many white guys on the Miami.
But no, I read a story, and he had no offers coming out of high school. He went D3 and then D1 at Michigan, and then now he's in the NBA.
Well, now I'm curious.
Well,
Pull up that Miami roster.
Keep talking.
Well, I had steak earlier, as mentioned. It was delicious. I'm trying. Well, they got a good trio. They got Jay Crowder. He's black. I don't know, man. Tyler, you sure it's not Tyler Hero?
It may be. I don't know. Anyway, Miami surprisingly up 2-0 in that series. So let's go Miami. Something I never thought I'd say.
Yeah,
So
no shit.
strictly for the fact of maybe possibly 1, 2, 3% chance of getting Giannis here. But yeah, NBA's coming down.
Really good matchups too. This is a good Final Four. The NBA would love to see I think Boston versus LA Lakers just to have that nostalgia. But I mean, I would like to see the Clippers. I'd like to see Denver because Denver's got really good pieces. I love Jokic, is one of my favorite players in the league, and Jamal Murray had like multiple 50-point games in that first round. He had a shitty Game 7. They really wanted him to have a great Game 7, and he just didn't.
Jamal Murray and the other dude, they combined for like something crazy, like 597. Donovan Mitchell. They combined.
What was wild too is they each had multiple 50-point games, and they said in the history of the NBA before this, it only happened twice. Obviously, one was Jordan, and I can't remember the other one, but it might have been someone from years past. But just how rare it is to have a 50-point like playoff game, and both these guys had like multiple in one series. I mean, they were just trading blows. That's why that Game 7 was so hyped up. Every time they cut to commercial, they would show you like the updated stats of Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray, and they had decent games. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Jamal Murray went like 6 for 20 from the field, and ESPN wanted that matchup so badly that they focused on those two. They didn't focus on the big man matchup of Gobert and Jokic, which both those guys played their hearts out and carried their teams for stretches. But I think Jokic is the number 2 big man in the league, only behind AD, because he's one of the only guys other than AD actually that can get a rebound, bring it up court, and either stop and pop for a 3 or hold it and find that outlet or find a quick pass to like a cutting guy to the bucket. And he's a great passer, he's a great blocker, he's a great shooter. He doesn't complain much to refs, which I like. It's one thing I hate about Luka is all the complaining. You know, he's like almost like a Kawhi in that way, where he'll just get his explanation and he's okay. Put his mouth guard back in and go play. But
okay, so
Jokic.
I'm not crazy. His name is Duncan Robinson.
Oh fuck yeah!
He's
a 3 point.
Yeah, he's a sharpshooter. Yeah. He had no offers out of high school. He said I was a terrible basketball player in high school.
Hey, me too.
He played Division III for Williams College, and then he went to Michigan for 1 year, and
he got good in college. Then to go to Michigan. Michigan's got a good program.
Yeah, and he was in the G League for Miami, and Spoelstra said that he basically broke all their shooting records.
Yeah,
and he kind of really struggled. But he was struggling with his confidence, and but he's come up big for Miami in the last 2 games. So I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew it was a dude on Miami, and I knew it wasn't Hero.
I'm impressed that I named 3 white guys from Miami with Olenek, Hero, and Dragic. I mean, I was really running bone dry because obviously I don't watch many Miami games less during the playoffs.
So I knew I wasn't crazy.
Yeah, and I've definitely heard of that guy. You're right, sharpshooter.
Yeah, he's 6'7", 6'8", somewhere in there. He's just not quite old boy
like Redick or Korver.
Korver, yeah, he's not quite Korver. I think Korver's he's got a little bit more game, or had a little bit more game to him. But
JJ Redick though too, man. Those guys just been sharpshooters for what, a 15-year NBA career, retire with $100+ million.
Well, and Redick, he made playoffs every year of his career,
this year.
And he told
Zion,
hey, don't F this up for me.
and they fucked it up in the bubble, man. They even made that rule where if the 9 seed was within 4 games, I think it was 4 games of the 8 seed, they would have a play.
They were dying to get Zion in.
That was a play to get Zion in the playoffs, and they just shit the bed.
And you're telling me that the NBA isn't rigged. I just listened to that episode of Swindled. They had old boy Tim Donaghy. Yeah, I just listened to that episode. The NBA is so dirty. But anyway, that was the NBA. Where it's coming down to the end. We got some good matchups. Our Mavs put up a good fight, but it wasn't enough without KP. But
just get healthy. Just get healthy, KP.
Let's get healthy and
Luka, work on your free throws.
Work on free throws. Let's toughen up.
Yeah, let's get our own goons. Let's get our own goons to fucking punch Marcus Morris in the face next time we see him.
And a lot of people said that's our team needs a little bit of this.
They really do. We're as good as we are. I think our hardest player might be Maxi Kleba, and that's because he just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
which I love that about
me
him.
Too.
But we don't have that guy that's like on the Clippers, man. I'd be scared of Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverly.
We don't
Marcus
have a Stevenson.
Morris. Yeah, Sean Stevenson. Are you talking about when championship run? Yeah, I love Sean Stevenson.
We need somebody to go in there and Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. And
shit.
someone that's not afraid of getting a double technical, flagrant, whatever, and being out a game or two, you know? Because you're not going to be our best player. Just get in
Sacrifice
there
for the
and-
team.
Yeah, make a sacrifice. And I don't want to say too dirty. I'm not talking about, like, fucking breaking ankles, but, you know.
Malice in the Palace.
Yeah, let's get Ron Artest. I don't want Meta World Peace. I want Ron Artest on my team.
All right, so that was a little bit of NBA catch up, and that takes us to what are we watching? This is a segment where we kind of go over anything we've watched in the past week, anything cool, movies, TV shows, documentaries, anything like that. For me, I found a six-part true crime series randomly. I was in a YouTube black hole. You know, you click one thing and you click on the side where it's like related videos, and somehow I ended up on the true crime side of YouTube. And it was called No One Saw a Thing. It was originally aired on Sundance. Somebody dubbed it and did computer magic and put it on YouTube. It was about a town in Missouri called Skidmore, Missouri.
Sounds like a shitty place to grow up.
Well, when I tell you about it, it sounds like something out of a fucking Stephen King novel. So it's a town of about 489 people, 500 people, really small town, salt of the earth people. And the first episode, it centers around this guy named Ken Rex McElroy. And he was a bully. He was a town bully. He started dating a 13-year-old girl while he was married. He was like picking her up from school.
Yeah, from fucking junior high.
He was picking her up from school. She was taking rides in his truck. And they started a relationship. Well, a couple years into it, she got jealous because he was spending too much time with his wife. And so she filed charges against him for rape. And what did he do? He took her across state lines to Kansas, married her at 16.
Because apparently you can do that in Kansas.
Took her back to Missouri so she wouldn't be able to testify because spouses can't be forced to testify.
Man,
so
clever little pervert.
And then he moved her in.
With his wife?
Yeah. Her name was Tanya or Tammy or something. And they all kind of lived as one big happy family. And he kind of just terrorized the town in other ways. He shot 2 people. Killed one of them, shot another dude, wounded him, and got off on both.
What time period was this?
This was in late 70s. Late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
So the townspeople got sick of it, and they called a meeting. And him and his wife happened to pull up outside of the bar where they were having this meeting. And he walks in. They told him to get the hell out, and so when they walk back out to the truck, there's about 40 or 50 people there at the meeting. So they all 40 or 50 people walked out, surrounded the truck, and they ended up shooting and murdering him. They blew the back of his head off with her in the truck. So they're starting investigating it, and no one saw a thing.
Nice.
And so, at first, the first episode, I thought it was just going to be about Ken Rex McElroy, his death, and how this whole town swore to secrecy. Well, then come to find out, the rest of this series is really about the town of Skidmore. And McElroy, they killed McElroy in 1981, and in the subsequent years after that, there's been like 5 murders unsolved. There was one that was solved, so there's 4 unsolved murders and 1 that was solved. In a town of 500 people.
Yeah, that's
400
or
500 people.
It's like one.
And so it was kind of this stigma of this town not saying a word and protecting their own and having kind of this vigilante justice view of how to take care of problems. And it went back in the history of Skidmore where in 1931 there was a black man who lived in town, and anytime anything got started or anytime anything happened, they would go get him. Bring him into town, throw him in jail. Well, a white school teacher got murdered. They went and got this guy. On the way to court to be arraigned and charged, a vigilante mob, grabbed him, took him to the schoolhouse, cut a hole in the roof, hung him, threw him down inside the building, hung him, and then set the school on fire.
God damn.
So this is kind of setting up the story that Skidmore has this vigilante mentality. That's how they take care of business,
Bunch of monsters.
and how nobody talks. Even going back to the recent murders, like there was a couple, a young couple, and this was in the 90s, and the meth was rolling into Missouri, and it was really bad. And this they talked about this couple, and the husband was just beating his wife. I mean, beating her senseless all the time. Black eyes, makeup, long sleeves, the whole deal. One day he goes on a meth rage. He got some bad meth. He pulverized her. He broke every bone in her face.
Jeez.
Pulverized her, drug her out to the backyard. A neighbor saw him drag her to the backyard and leave her. She was gasping for her last breath. He poured Dawn dish soap down her throat to choke her.
Golly.
The neighbor saw everything and didn't say a word.
This really is like
Something
Stephen
out of
King.
Stephen King. A 17-year-old kid disappears, walks out of his front door, disappears. He was working on a car. He went to the shed to grab some jumper cables, come back, and never comes back. Excuse me. 5 days later, the kid never shows up. 5 days later, the jumper cables return to the house.
somebody had the kid then.
So he's still missing to this day. They don't know what happened to him. The one that did get solved, there was a lady that lived in Skidmore, and she bred terrier dog, like rat terrier dogs. She was pregnant. She ended up having her baby cut out of her. She ended up having her baby cut out of her. She died. Somebody stole the baby. So this was like in 2002, 3, 4. So they tracked through her website, her dog adoption website. They tracked down some conversations she had with a lady that was supposed to come meet her at her house to get a dog. Turns out the lady was crazy. Cut the baby out, went back to Kansas where she was from. They went to Kansas, and people were like, well, she was telling everybody she was pregnant, and people would be like, well, you don't look pregnant. She's like, well, yeah, I just don't show very much, I don't show very much, and it's kind of a family deal. My mom didn't show very much. We're just kind of lucky that way. Turns out she had her husband believe in this, and feds knock on the door, find the baby, reunite the baby with the dad, and that was like the only one that got solved. But it was a really cool 6-part documentary. It's called No One Saw a Thing. I caught it just in a YouTube black hole, and I couldn't stop watching.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It was awesome.
Sounds like right when one stops, you start the next.
Yeah, and they have all 6 up, and it's something you would be into because I know you're into true crime.
Yeah.
So what were you watching this week?
Well, I don't know if I can follow that up. But for me, it was when we cut this last Thursday. As soon as we got done, is when we all got word about Chadwick Boseman
Yeah.
dying. Unfortunately, I had no idea he was sick.
Nobody
Any
did.
of us did, yeah, because they actually, kept it from the press and they kept it private and let the man die in peace, which, obviously fine with that. But so when I was watching, I usually watch something on Saturday night, and I watched 42 that I've never seen before, and he died on Jackie Robinson Day too,
That's
which
so
was
weird,
wild,
man.
yeah. And it was the 57-year anniversary of the "I Have a Dream" speech by Martin Luther King. So it was like
That's
all
weird.
these things, yeah, happened on that day. But just watching that movie, it was a great baseball movie, but it was a really good depiction of what it must have been like. Well,
Yeah.
kind of have parallels now, but what it must have really been like, just trying to play baseball in the 40s and breaking that color barrier and going to every new city, having that same experience every time, even on the team. But, there was his own players, like starting petitions, trying to get him to say that, that he can't play on this team. You had guards like standing at the game, coming up to him with billy clubs, telling him he's got to leave the field because I think that's when they were in either Florida or Georgia playing somewhere, and the cop was like, we still have segregation down here. You can't play down here. And his manager stands up for him, and slowly he wins the respect of his peers, of his fellow players. But it had to take years to get that respect back from the fans. And to me, the I don't know the right adjective for it, but the scene that got me the most was when they were going to play in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati, Ohio, apparently is probably really southern Ohio, and Kentucky's or Louisville, where Pee Wee Reese was from, was northern Kentucky. And he went and told the manager or the owner, played by Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford's really good in that movie too. That he can't play this game. He's got relatives that are going to be there, and he got a death threat in the mail. And the owner walks over there and pulls out just 3 fat stacks, saying that these are all the death threats that Jackie and his family got. And of course, Jackie knows about them, and he still plays. And so they're at the game, and everyone's just giving him shit because Jackie's playing first, Pee Wee's at second. Or short, maybe short. And they're all giving him shit, and there's that little boy in the stand who's like his dad. And that, to me, was a pretty wild scene because the boy's just happy to be there. He's just having a game with his dad, and then he just sees this black player come out, and everyone just start giving this guy shit. And the little boy's looking around, doesn't know what's going on, but he sees his dad yelling and all these other people yelling, and he just starts yelling too. It's, to me, that's how like racism can be taught. Because you see it from everyone around you. You see that everyone, if everyone around you has that same view, well, then maybe that's how I should think, And it's just sad that he felt that way to just give this guy so much crap. And then Pee Wee walks over to Jackie and puts his arm around him, and he explains to him, he's got, my family's in the stands right now, and I just wanted to thank you. And Jackie's like, why do you want to thank me? And tells him that, he gets to show everybody the kind of person he is, that, this is what he believes in. And even the little boy kind of notices that, and he obviously stops yelling and has this humbling moment watching these 2 guys, and then the part that really like got to me and like gave me goosebumps or little tear in the eye, because I never realized that when they wear the number 42, I always assumed it was to honor Jackie Robinson. And Pee Wee Reese, the way he put it is, maybe one day we'll all wear 42 so no one can tell us apart.
Yeah.
And when I heard that line, I was like, holy shit! Like, I've been watching baseball my whole life, and they've been doing this since like the 90s. Like, I never knew. I just thought it was a way to honor the man and pay tribute. And I never knew it was a way to be like, there's no difference between us when we're on this field or really when we're in life. We're all humans from planet Earth. And the only difference is, what team we're playing for or what state we live in. But, the fact that no one could tell us apart because we're all going to wear the same jersey regardless of skin color just like really hit me hard and kind of made you think.
Pee Wee Reese was played by Lucas Black.
Yeah,
who was in Friday Night Lights.
Who's made a good career for himself after Tokyo Drift.
That's the best Fast and the Furious, if you ask me.
Really,
dude? Yeah. Well, because just from the car,
that's your hot take of the week.
No, just from the cars, because like there's a lot of like rare like Japan like JDM cars that we didn't get over here. And, like, that was my thing, like, back in the day. It's still my thing. Like, I like imports. Like,
that's why you drive that big-ass Dodge Ram truck.
Yeah, that's why I drive a lifted truck.
And I was going to say, I will be watching the Amazon series The Boys is coming back. Season 2 starts Friday.
Yeah, it looks good.
Really good first season. It's like the hero. Like, there's, I think they call him, like, Mr. America or something like that. And he's a fucking asshole if you've seen the first season. And I don't know, it's just really interesting because it takes the good guys and they're actually the bad guys. And you got this vigilante who's actually the good guy trying to fight these guys. And, rated TV MA, the violence, the gore, the language, the sex, like it's all there. It's just like the anti-superhero show that you would want to watch.
Yeah.
So if you're into anything like that and something like that would pique your interest, I'm sure you've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
It's a huge show.
I've seen the trailers and the previews.
Yeah, so I'm going to be ready for probably watch. Oh, and then after 42, I watched Black Panther. Just to like pay ultimate respect.
You got to.
Yeah, so that's what I watched there.
And wasn't 42 kind of where he broke in? Like, wasn't that his first big role?
I think so. It was 2013.
Yeah.
And I know he really broke in with like the first Avengers where he was in it, but that's because his dad died and his dad was Black Panther.
Yeah.
And it was setting up the role for him. So I think it was 42.
And
then he got the role as Black Panther, which was, he didn't get that movie until like 2018.
Or maybe because he was in a football movie too. He was in a football movie before 42. So
was he the lead?
He may. Let me see. Let me look it up. I don't know if he was the lead, but I know
he probably really like blew up
42
around 2013, and then 2016 and 18 was just like huge years.
Oh, it was 2008. It was The Express. It was the Ernie Davis story.
Oh shit! I think he was the lead.
I think he played Ernie Davis.
Damn, so he's been in the game.
No, he played Floyd Little.
Oh, well.
And he had another movie called The Kill Hole, which
that sounds dirty.
Hey-o. And then 42, and then he was in Draft Day.
Yeah. He was the defensive end that finally got number one. That number one money.
He was Draft Day, and then he played in Get On Up. He was James Brown in Get On Up, and then Captain America: Civil War.
Draft Day. That's a
2016
guilty pleasure of mine.
But you look, I mean, his movie career was kind of short, only 12 years. But he's been in television. He was in All My Children, Third Watch, Law and Order, CSI in New York,
So
ER, Cold
paid
Case.
his dues,
Yeah.
which you respect.
Yeah. So he was on Justified. I forgot he was on Justified.
That's a good show.
That was a really good show.
I need to finish that. I remember me and my dad were into that.
Yeah, it's good. I'm on season 6. I need to pick it back up.
How many are there?
6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I figured it's
Yeah.
probably nearly done.
Yeah. So what are you listening to?
The new Glass Animals album came out.
It's really good.
It's really good. If
You just showed them to me or introduced them to me. They're really good.
It's one of those. Well, albums, but bands really that if you have like you said you had a good sound system in your truck. I don't. I have headphones, and they're not even good headphones, but they're good. That way you catch everything. You know, there's so much going on in those songs. It's not just like a guy and acoustic guitar. There's a lot going on. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm sure he has like a huge setup with a soundboard and everything, and it's just interesting. I mean, it's different. To me, that's the 21st century dad jams.
Yeah, man,
like
it's really good.
Paula, Mac DeMarco, shit like that. So some of my favorite songs, even though nobody's probably gonna care, the title of the album, CD or Dreamland, that's number one track. That's a really good one. Tangerine, Heat Waves, and Space Ghost, Coast to Coast, all really good songs.
Those are good, man.
So I've been listening to that at work, and then I listened to Disgraceland, which is. It's not a series because everyone could be different. Sometimes they'll do 2-parters, but that's if it's like a big group. So it's a guy that just basically does the research and gets all the dirt on. It could be. It's really anybody in what would you call it? Not pop culture, but entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So there's musicians, there's movie stars, anything like that has like any kind of seediness to it, which obviously they do. It's anything in the entertainment industry probably has a lot going on that we don't know about, and he just really pulls back that curtain and delves into it. And he wrote a book about it first, and now he does like his own podcast, and he does like voiceover work for a lot. So he's really good at like telling a story. He's like obviously like professional, like not me who's fumbling my way through telling you about this. So it's like really well made. He does his research. It kind of reminds me of Swindled in that sense, where it's like one guy doing everything. Well researched and just really well put together, and there's probably 100 episodes, and I listened to one today. It was a 2-parter about Guns N' Roses, so you learn about the history of Guns N' Roses and just that whole 80s scene of really it started with glam rock with like Motley Crue from Motley Crue to Guns N' Roses, just how hard and they lived and the partied and the women, and it delves into that. So if you're interested in any kind of like backstory on any bands or anything that and I listened to one about Norwegian black metal, which I've never been into Norwegian black metal, but those are the most realest fucking dudes. Like those guys were about that life. Burning churches.
I'm about to say, wasn't there like a lot of like that kind of stuff and like
there was a whole
occult
movement
stuff and stuff like that?
It was the really hardcore guys. There was like a handful, and they were everybody else was posers, and they deserved to die, and some of them got charged with murder.
I'm about to say, didn't they kill a bunch of people in there?
Yeah, they would. Some were charged with murder. Others just killed themselves. A lot of church burnings. I think it was like hundreds of churches over a period of time. And one guy's name was I can't remember the band. It was like Burzerm or something. And he went by the name Death. And before shows, he would literally get like a dead animal, usually just like a bird or something, and just like wear it on him just to get the stench of death. And he would like breathe it into him. And he got so fed up. I'm pretty sure what he did was he like got a blade out, cut all his wrist. I think he cut his throat, and then he got a shotgun and blew his head off. That's not even the crazy part, because then like his guitarist or whatever who was feuding with him at the time walked in on post-suicide, saw all this, and instead of being like, oh, my friend, I should call the police, even though he's already fucking dead, I should notify somebody, he went down to like a corner store and bought a disposable camera and took a picture, which later went on their next live album. Like you could see the album, it's this guy just like hunched over with his brains fucking blown out. And then he took part of the brains out because the brains were blown open. He took fragments. He took bone fragments and made a necklace. And then he took actual brain residue or brains and cooked that shit and ate it. So, I mean, those guys were about that life. And if you were like Children of Bodom or those bands now, they would probably try to kill you. They would literally try to kill you. Okay. If you were back in that scene back in the day.
I may download that episode. That sounds gnarly.
Yeah, it was like the third one, too. It's like Norwegian black metal. And they're only like, even the 2-parters, they're probably 30 to 40 minutes each.
Yeah.
This one was like a 40-minute one. But And like I said, I've never been into Norwegian black metal, but I always knew about their history, and I just had to learn it. I just had to listen to it, and it's fucking wild.
Well, all right. How am I going to follow that up? I'm listening to a podcast called Darknet Diaries, and it's all about the dark side of the internet. It's a lot of hacking stories. Like he covers like the Sony hack. He covers, I think it's called Stuxnet, and that's when the U.S. government hacked the Iranian nuclear facility and shut down their operation with a virus. So if you're kind of into any of that cyber warfare, hacking, anything like that, that's a great podcast. It's one dude, and he's got a guy that does his music, but they're super well done. The interviews are really good. There's stuff about how people are hacking Xboxes and how like the Xbox One got leaked back in the 360 days. So super cool podcast if you're kind of into tech or hacking or anything like that. And then as far as music, I've been listening to the Alt J, An Awesome Wave. It's probably their most popular album. It's just really good. Good, just chill music. Throw it on any time of day, any time of night. Dad jams.
21st century dad jams.
Dad jams. But I think that's going to do it. I think that's going to do it for us. But be on the lookout. Next week, we are going to do a fantasy football preview show. We're going to kind of go over must-have players to avoid, boomer bust, a little bit of draft strategy for you. So you can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast. And if you don't mind, like I said at the beginning, please rate and review us. It'll really help us out while we're trying to get this thing to grow. And for the few people that have reached out to me this past week, you don't know how much it means to me that y'all have reached out and y'all are listening and y'all are supporting us. And every message that I get, I really appreciate it, and it kind of drives me to do the next one. But for Matt,
Andrew,
we're out. We'll see you next week.